Chapter 499. The name doesn't matter. The key is to have title. Yang Chun just thought that the old Dragon King should have a dragon, but he didn't want to be so obvious, so he simply took one. Well, Jade Dragon Wine is Jade Dragon Wine. Jiu Xian is a guy who only cares about the taste and doesn't care about the poetic name of this wine. As long as it tastes good in the mouth, the rest doesn't matter. I will tell you where the Netherworld Fire is in exchange for your 400 pounds of Jade Dragon Wine. Jiu Xian is really like the gambling character that Yang Chen values. He doesn't take advantage of the transaction at all. He even deducts the 80 pounds that the three people drank this time. Yang Chen certainly doesn't care about this wine. He directly gave him 5 drops of distiller's yeast and let him find a suitable auxiliary wine. Jiu Xian almost laughed happily. This time, the 80 pounds of wine, the three people didn't drink much. Almost all of it was cheap to Jiu Xian. In the Chinquin bag of Jiu Xian, there were 80 pounds of Jade Dragon Wine and 5 drops of distiller's yeast, and in the mind of Yang Chun, there was more news about the Netherworld Fire. If you get the fire seed of this Netherworld Fire, Yang Chun will reach 5 kinds of 5th grade flames. There are 2 kinds that haven't been absorbed yet. These 2 kinds of 5th grade flames, plus more than 100 kinds of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade fire seeds, are enough to let Yang Chen's fire attribute cultivation base rush to the peak of the foundation stage, and even the success of Jiedon. Both sides are happy and feel that they have achieved their own goals. Yang Chen is also in a good mood, and Sun Qingxue is also very happy. Taking this opportunity, Yang Chun sent an invitation to Sun Qingxue to go out and gain experience. The sect has this intention. Sun Qingxue will not disobey Yang Chun. Almost without any hesitation, Sun Qingxue agreed to Yang Chen's invitation. However, when they were bidding farewell to Master Hua Wanting, the 2 of them were asked to stay by Elder Hua. Where are you going to gain experience? As his only disciple, Elder Hua had always doted on him. Even though this wasn't the first time he had gone out, Elder Hua was still very worried and insisted on getting to the bottom of things. Of course, the care and concern of an elder had to be explained clearly. However, Yang Chun just casually mentioned 2 ordinary places and did not tell them the destination they planned to go this time. In fact, until now, Sun Qingxue had no idea where she was going. She only knew that Yang Chun invited her, and she agreed. As for where they were going, Sun Qingxue did not care, as long as she could be with Yang Chun. Yang Chun sighed with emotion at the simplicity of Sun Qingxue. At the same time, he also remembered the ruthlessness of the dancing snow fairy in his previous life. It was simply not a person at all. In front of Yang Chun, Elder Hua gave Sun Qingxue a lot of various types of magic weapons. All kinds of medicinal pills, and almost all the dangers she might encounter were taken into account. It was as if Elder Hua was packing a bag for a child on a long journey, although this was the case in essence. Then, Yang Chen was also repeatedly told that he must take good care of little Shui and not let her be in danger and so on, which made Yang Chen stunned. Where was this a master of the Deshang stage? It was clearly Immortal parent. With Sun Qingxue, it was not easy to leave the Blue Cloud sect under the warning of Elder Hua. The 2 flew for a long time and changed the Yang Chen shuttle. Until they completely left the Blue Cloud sect's territory, Yang Chun breathed a sigh of relief. Master is just worried about me. Sun Qingxue seemed to understand what Yang Chun was hiding from, but said with a smile. Being spoiled by her master, Sun Qingxue felt very happy. But if you have been growing up under the care of your master, your state of mind will stop here. Yang Chun had a different opinion. In this world of the law of the jungle, it was not easy to correct Gong Sunling's ideas. As a result, there was no problem with the dancing snow fairy in his previous life, but now she has become a flower in a greenhouse. In his previous life, Sun Qingxue could only fight for everything by herself because her master was not powerful. Not only did she have to abolish her own cultivation base with the help of the Great Tribulation, but everything needed for cultivation was obtained by Sun Qingxue's crazy struggle. But in this life, Sun Qingxue was placed under the door of Hua Wanting and Elder Hua, and her life was different from then on. Whether it was a cultivation method, medicinal pill or magic weapon, almost everything was there. No one dared to bully. No one would neglect. This kind of life was indeed very easy to cultivate a person into a tender seedling that was too weak to stand up to the wind. Little Shui, have you ever killed anyone? Yang Chen suddenly asked. Sun Qingxue shook her head. She was a disciple of the Blue Cloud sect, and no one dared to provoke her at will. The last time she came out, she went directly to Chunyang Palace and then waited for Yang Chen. There was no opportunity to argue with people. Have you ever killed a monster? Yang Chen asked again, still shaking her head. Yang Chen could not help but sigh secretly. He thought that the master of the Deshang stage, Hua Wanting, was a good master, but he did not expect that she was even more protective than Gao Yu. Now Sun Qingxue was the Gong Sunling of his previous life. The academic school relied on her qualifications to improve her cultivation base, and the final result could only be failure. Yang Chen had to be patient and said his worries and possible consequences to Sun Qingxue, more serious than ever. I know all of this. To Yang Chen's surprise, Sun Qingxue was very clear about this. This made Yang Chen a little puzzled. Since she knew, why did she still maintain her current appearance? I just don't want Master to worry. Sun Qingxue smiled and said, over the years, Master has taught me a lot and given me a lot of care. I just don't want to let her worry these days. Hua Wanting was entangled by the blood demon vine for hundreds of years, and it was not easy to escape from death, and also got a disciple with good qualifications. Of course, she regarded her as a sweetheart. She was afraid of falling in her hands, and she was afraid of melting in her mouth. However, Sun Qingxue, who grew up in an official's family, knew that this was because of Hua Wanting's previous experience, and because she had just been promoted to the Deshang stage, and her state of mind was unstable. As long as this period of time passed, Hua Wanting would realize the problem, and Sun Qingxue would return to the normal track. Sun Qingxue's analysis made Yang Chen stunned. He had to admit that although he had already thought highly of Sun Qingxue, this time he still thought of Sun Qingxue simply. Not to mention anything else, just that she could analyze this from Hua Wanting's character and cultivation stage made Yang Chen look at her with admiration. It seems that his initial worries were in vain. At the same time, he couldn't help but sigh. The dancing snow fairy was the dancing snow fairy. He still looked down on the masters. Big brother Yang, can you tell us now, where are we going to experience this time? Looking at Yang Chen's worried appearance at the beginning, Sun Qingxue was very happy, and now began to ask him about the destination of his experience. Chapter 500. Let's go here. Since Sun Qingxue knew it herself, she was just doing her filial piety to cooperate with Hua Wanting for decades. Yang Chen was relieved, took out the wooden sign that he got from drunken Immortal, and put on the table. Here. Sun Qingxue looked at Yang Chen incredibly. She really didn't understand what this meant. This wooden sign, to be precise, is the key to a secret plane. Yang Chen smiled. He knew that Sun Qingxue would be surprised, and he did not feel surprised. A secret plane that has not been discovered. What was the secret plane? Sun Qingxue was of course clear. Chunyang Palace had a secret pavilion, and Blue Cloud sect also had a similar place. Unless it was a great contribution to the sect, it was impossible to enter. The secret plane was left by the sect that had disappeared, and whoever found it would be the one who owned it. Only the two of us. Sun Qingxue woke up from that incredible feeling and still asked in doubt. Of course, Yang Chen replied with a smile. If there are more people, maybe the things inside will not be ours. In a secret plane, no one knows how many things there will be. If you bring others, you will definitely get a bigger share. If you encounter a bad character, maybe there will be some things that will not be evenly divided. If it is a master, it is really hard to say who will have the last thing. Yang Chen trusted Sun Qingxue, and Sun Qingxue also had extreme trust in Yang Chen. There would never be such a problem between the two, but it was hard to say if outsiders were added. In this way, the two of them were just right. Ours. Sun Qingxue seemed not sure. In Sun Qingxue's mind, this was Yang Chen bringing her along to benefit her. The key to the secret plane was won by Yang Chen from the Wine Immortal. He knew that this was the key to the secret plane because Yang Chen was knowledgeable. Sun Qingxue herself did not contribute at all. This was a share out of thin air. Sun Qingxue was ashamed. Of course. Yang Chun smiled and looked at Sun Qingxue's hesitant look. He seemed to know what she was thinking. He raised his hand and gently touched Sun Qingxue's head. Don't think about it. You better think about it. If there is a guardian beast in the secret plane, how will you deal with it? When it came to fighting, Sun Qingxue was no longer as confident as before. After all, she had never experienced a battle, whether it was with a human or a demonic beast. In this case, Yang Chen did not dare to take risks casually. He casually found a place for low-level disciples to gain experience and pulled Sun Qingxue to hunt low-level monsters to practice. No way, combat experience is not something that can be completely inherited by words or face-to-face teaching. Without actual combat, no matter how valuable the experience is, it can only be a theory. It is impossible to combine it with practice. Sun Qingxue's cultivation base was good. Now, she was in the middle stage of the foundation stage. She had wasted more than 10 years of time. She was absolutely outstanding in terms of qualifications. But even if the qualifications were good, when facing these low-level monsters, she was still flustered and made countless mistakes. If it wasn't for Yang Chun who had been taking care of her, maybe Sun Qingxue would have fallen into the hands of these low-level monsters. The place chosen by Yang Chun was known to many people. Most of the talents in the late stage of qi refining or the peak of qi refining were here. Yang Chun and Sun Qingxue, two experts in the foundation stage, seemed very out of place here. However, neither of them cared about those strange gazes. They did not come here to fight with those people for the monsters, but to give Sun Qingxue some simple combat experience. Soon, the two left here, but there were still people who recognized Yang Chun and Sun Qingxue. Among them were some disciples of the Blue Cloud sect. Next, the news was passed back to the Blue Cloud sect and reached the ears of Elder Hua Wanting. Hearing that Yang Chun first took Sun Qingxue to such a low-level place to fight, Hua Wanting immediately realized that she had made a mistake in cultivating Sun Qingxue. Fortunately, Yang Chun was now helping her remedy. If Sun Qingxue was delayed because of this, then she, as a master, would not be able to redeem herself even if she died 100 times. While Hua Wanting had some regrets, she could not help but be more and more optimistic about Yang Chun. This young man not only saved her own life, but also took Sun Qingxue to accumulate combat experience step by step. It seemed that the Tao companion that Sun Qingxue found herself seemed to have a good eye. Sun Qingxue was worthy of being the dancing snow fairy of the previous life. In a few days, she had already mastered the essentials of fighting with those low-level monsters. Then the two changed to a place suitable for the cultivators of the foundation stage to gain experience and started fighting again. Of course, the main thing was that Sun Qingxue was fighting and Yang Chun was watching on the side and giving advice at the same time. Yang Chun himself never made a move. Even if he made a move, it was only when Sun Qingxue was in a crisis and could not protect herself. But it was only to take Sun Qingxue out of danger, but he would never help Sun Qingxue to eliminate the opponent. At the beginning, Sun Qingxue would frequently encounter danger, but soon, this situation became less and less. Sun Qingxue was like a dry sponge, madly absorbing all kinds of combat experience. The speed of growth made Yang Chun feel shocked. In just 4 or 5 days, Sun Qingxue could basically defeat the monsters here that were equivalent to the strength of the early stage of the foundation stage. She began to fight with the monsters of the middle stage of the foundation stage, and she was not at a disadvantage. This was already the realm of Sun Qingxue's own cultivation base. At this rate, maybe after a few months, Sun Qingxue could challenge the monsters of the early stage of the Jidan stage. However, the monsters of this level have not opened their spiritual wisdom. They can't be compared with the old cunning guys like Shi Kuei and Xie Sha, let alone the old tree demon. Low-level monsters were low-level monsters. They only knew how to use their instincts to fight, and they were very easy to deal with. To Yang Chun, the biggest enemy was still people. Sun Qingxue could kill the monsters again. If she met a cunning cultivator, Even if the cultivator's cultivation base was lower than her, she might still suffer a loss. This principle also applies to Gao Yu and Gong Sunling. Even if they have more experience in the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave, they still have to learn to deal with people. Fortunately, now Sun Qingxue has just begun to learn. Maybe in the near future, Hua Wanting will change her mind and focus on cultivating Sun Qingxue. Sun Qingxue still has the opportunity to become the dancing snow fairy of the previous life. After 2 months of combat experience, Sun Qingxue's growth was amazing. She could already fight with the monsters of the late stage of the foundation stage without falling into a disadvantage. There was no point in staying here. Yang Chun decisively decided to leave. Next, go to the secret plane. Sun Qingxue's recent addiction to fighting, especially after a series of hard battles to defeat the opponent, the sense of accomplishment was very pleasant. Hearing that Yang Chun was going to the secret plane immediately, she was a little surprised and a little reluctant. Chapter 501. Sharpening the spear before the battle has been polished. Yang Chun also decided not to waste time. Sun Qingxue could not compare with Shi Shanshan at this point. At least when Yang Chun and Shi Shanshan went to find the blood essence of the howling celestial dog. In terms of combat, Shi Shanshan did not need Yang Chun's guidance at all, and the two cooperated quite tacitly. This secret plane, Yang Chun found clues from the ancient text on the wooden sign. From the age alone, it was already very old. However, the formation displayed by the secret key was not very advanced. This could only explain one thing, that the secret plane was not a very advanced place. Maybe it was a small martial arts sect. After being destroyed, the inheritance was broken, so no one has ever found the secret plane. Since it was a small martial arts sect, naturally there would not be too many good things. Now the only thing that Yang Chun was looking forward to was that the secret plane might be able to grow some medicinal herbs of sufficient years because of its long history. As for other things, Yang Chun did not expect it at all. In addition to this, Yang Chun just wanted to let Sun Qingxue have a little more experience in exploration, and did not want to make a fortune from it. The secret plane that really had good things would definitely be searched 3 feet deep. How could it be left until now? Of course, the most important thing was that Yang Chun had to complete the entrustment of the head of the palace in practice with Sun Qingxue. However, Yang Chun did not realize that it seemed that Sun Qingxue was becoming more and more obsessed with himself, which was not the effect he wanted. As for why Yang Chun would have such an attitude towards Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingxue, he himself had no experience in dealing with feelings. Secondly, these two would be super fierce people who would be famous in the world in the future. It was better not to offend them. The location of the secret plane was not a famous mountain or river. Obviously, the good places have been occupied by some famous sections. A small sect that was destroyed was only worthy of staying in some corner places. The speed of a shuttle was very fast, but it still took almost a month to reach the destination. According to this calculation, this place was already at the edge of the Dao sect's territory, just like the 100,000 mountains. This place is really desolate. There were a few dilapidated hills without even a single tree. Almost all of them were bare rocks. There were simply a few stone mountains. Seeing all this, the first sentence Sun Qingxue said after coming down from the shuttle was this: "Even if it's a bustling place, it won't be our turn." Yang Chun smiled as he put away the shuttle. After standing still, he began to look around. The key to the secret plane only said that the secret plane was here, but the specific location was not said, and Yang Chun and Sun Qingxue needed to look for it carefully. As long as he found the entrance to the formation, he could use the key to enter. Speaking of which, it was similar to finding the blood essence of the howling celestial dog back then. He only knew the approximate location, but he had to find the entrance. However, this secret plane was completely incomparable to the valley where the blood essence of the howling celestial dog was stored. Sun Qingxue participated in this kind of adventure for the first time, and she was very excited. She was looking for it in the mountains inch by inch. Yang Chun did not dispel her enthusiasm and simply accompanied her, so he found it all the way. What surprised Yang Chun was that he thought that it would be easy to find the entrance to the secret plane in such a bare place with a glance. But he and Sun Qingxue searched for a whole 2 days, and the surrounding mountains have been turned over, and they found nothing. Has the secret plane been opened? Sun Qingxue even had such doubts. Take your time. Yang Chun was very patient to persuade. There was still a gap between Sun Qingxue and Shi Shanshan, at least in the state of mind. At that time, Shi Shanshan accompanied Yang Chun to find the valley where the blood essence of the howling celestial dog was found for 3 months, but she did not say a word of doubt. Of course, this required a long time of cultivation and experience, and it was not something that could be solved in just a few months. In the following time, they almost turned over all the mountains inch by inch, but unfortunately, they never found the entrance to the secret plane. Think about it carefully. Where else have we not looked? This time the search was more detailed, and it took almost 10 days. Yang Chen saw that Sun Qingxue was still a little impatient, and still patiently reminded. This time, the search for the secret plane was led by Sun Qingxue, and Yang Chun basically cooperated. Even if he saw it and found it, he would not take the initiative to say it. He wanted Sun Qingxue to understand something. Even if it was a small sect that was destroyed 10,000 years ago, there were still some means to hide secrets. Everything Yang Chun did was to let Sun Qingxue have more knowledge. This was the experience of dealing with people, although not directly in front of them, but it could still understand some people's hearts. At least the secret room could be hidden in this place with a glance. It was a full understanding of the character of most people. From now on, Sun Qingxue was caught in a misunderstanding, thus ignoring some things, leading to more than 10 days of searching without finding any clues. There were a total of more than a dozen hills here. Flying a little higher, one could see everything at a glance. In Sun Qingxue's view, there was not much missing. But since Yang Chen reminded her, Sun Qingxue also had an unyielding momentum. Once again, she held her strength and searched around again. After carefully inspecting the area that was thousands of acres in size, he made an unexpected discovery. It seems that the 2 ponds at the foot of the mountain have not been seen. Sun Qingxue finally came to a conclusion. The 2 ponds at her mouth were basically in the dark side of the hills. It was not known how many years they had existed here. The water level had been maintained at that level, but there was no flow. The 2 ponds were not big, and there were no living things in them. It was on the dark side, and the sun could not shine here. It looked like it had been here for a long time, and it was already stinky. This was also the reason why Sun Qingxue came here only to explore with her spiritual awareness and did not look carefully. How are you going to see it? Yang Chen looked at Sun Qingxue with a smile, waiting for her to take further action. It was not known how many years of dirty water. Sun Qingxue, a delicate and fragrant beauty, looked really disgusting. But it was undeniable that if the secret plane was really hidden underwater, it could indeed make many people afraid of this and ignore it. I will go down and see. Yang Chen has been watching. Sun Qingxue was afraid that Yang Chen would look down on her. After hesitating near the smelly pond for a long time, she finally gritted her teeth and planned to jump into the smelly pond to take a closer look. Okay. Yang Chen heard Sun Qingxue make this decision, and she was already planning to go down, so he stopped Sun Qingxue's behavior. You have this determination, you don't have to go down. Why? Sun Qingxue did not understand. Because you can't find it even if you go down. Yang Chen explained with a smile. Chapter 502. What? This made Sun Qingxue even more surprised. She really couldn't understand it. Only these 2 places have not been carefully searched. How can I not find it? The entrance is not here. How can I find it? Yang Chen replied with a smile. Since you have the determination to go down and act, it is enough. You don't have to really stink and turn yourself into a stinky girl. You are a stinky girl. Sun Qingxue could only act coquettishly to Yang Chen, but still couldn't figure it out. Why is the entrance not here? While talking, Sun Qingxue's spiritual awareness quickly explored the water. Although her spiritual awareness was limited, and the spiritual awareness would be greatly weakened in the water, but the stinky pond in front of her quickly explored the bottom. Flying to the side of another pond, the spiritual awareness explored it. And it was the same situation, and it was easy to explore the bottom of the pond. Is there anything unusual in the exploration of the spiritual awareness? Yang Chen was on the side, smiled and watched Sun Qingxue do all this, then asked, "There is nothing unusual," Sun Qingxue said with grievance. If it was not carefully explored, it meant that she did not go down to see it personally. Her spiritual awareness had checked, and she did not find anything wrong. It stands to reason that there is nothing wrong. Doesn't it mean that the entrance is not here? But how can Yang Chen be sure? These two ponds, it is likely that they have been here for tens of thousands of years and have not dried up. Don't you find it strange? Yang Chen reminded again. Is there a water outlet below? Sun Qingxue immediately thought of what she had missed. There was a water outlet, indicating that there was a water vein. It should be running water. How could it be a pool of stagnant water? Yes, if you check it carefully, you should find this doubt. Yang Chen continued to point, but he never meant to do it. Sun Qingxue moved closer to the pond. She endured the stench of the pond and used her divine sense to explore. Soon, in a remote corner, she found a very secret water outlet. Following the water outlet, Sun Qingxue was frustrated. She couldn't find the bottom. It's very easy for people to find this suspicious point and investigate along the water vein. Standing a little further away, Yang Chen explained to Sun Qingxue, "However, the more curious you are, the more likely you are to be deceived." How? Sun Qingxue couldn't help but ask. If my divine sense is strong enough, I will find that there are spiritual fluctuations under the water vein. Yang Chen smiled and said, "Then someone will be like a certain little fool, enduring the stench and jumping into the stinky ditch, wantonly digging. In the end, they will find that it is just an ordinary stagnant water formation, nothing at all." What's the point of doing this? Sun Qingxue asked in confusion. She was already thinking about what Yang Chen was telling her. It doesn't make any sense. Yang Chen smiled slightly. People have been exterminated. This thing is just purely disgusting. When she thought about it, she almost couldn't help but jump into the stinky pond. Although she had learned the water escape, she still had to be in the water. If Yang Chen hadn't stopped her, maybe she would have been a stinky girl soaked in the stinky water. Thinking of this, Sun Qingxue couldn't help but feel a chill. After adjusting herself to normal, Sun Qingxue asked curiously, "It's not in the water, nor on the mountain. Where is it? Actually, you still ignored a place." Yang Chen left with Sun Qingxue and returned to the top of the mountain. Without smelling the stench, he said, "There is still a place that I overlooked?" Sun Qingxue almost screamed. After more than a month, she had turned it over 3 times, and there were still places that she had overlooked. But Sun Qingxue's unyielding character broke out again. "Don't say it first. I'll think about it myself." It had to be said that Sun Qingxue's experience was still insufficient. Even if she was patient and turned it over for a whole month, she still didn't find anything unusual. In the end, Sun Qingxue could only come to Yang Chen and wait for his explanation. "You looked very detailed, but you only paid attention to the ground and the water." Yang Chen smiled and gave Sun Qingxue a cup of Jade-Dragon wine to let her relax, and then said, "Did you find anything unusual in the sky?" Sun Qingxue looked up at the sky. The sky was clear, there was a little breeze, and there were a few white clouds floating in the sky. Everything looked normal. What was wrong? "Do you think the weather here is normal?" Yang Chen asked again, which seemed to be more reminders. "It's normal," Sun Qingxue replied quickly. "In this more than a month, there were sunny days, cloudy days, rainy days, windy days, and there was often no abnormality in the weather. Don't you think that the days when there are no clouds in the sky have almost never appeared?" At this time, Yang Chen no longer kept her guessing and directly expressed his doubts. Sun Qingxue has been looking for the secret plane with all her heart. How could she pay attention to the changes in the weather? Now that Yang Chen reminded her, she was not sure. However, since Yang Chen said so, there must be his reason. Sun Qingxue did not refute it, and nodded directly, admitting it. "There's a large area where clouds always appear." Yang Chen looked up at the sky and drew a circle with his hand. More or less, There will always be clouds, and they're concentrated in that area, which is very abnormal. Yang Chun discovered this after half a month of searching. At first, Yang Chen also suspected that it was underwater, but after Yang Chen's powerful spiritual awareness threads explored the bottom of the water vein, he found that it was a trap. After discovering the trap, Yang Chen began to pay attention to the surrounding environment, so he soon noticed the abnormality in the sky. Right now, there were several clusters of clouds floating in the sky, constantly changing shape and moving position with the breeze. But as Yang Chen said, in that large area, there will always be clouds. Even if the wind blows away, there will soon be new clouds. Is it possible that the secret plane is hidden in the air? Such an obvious hint. If Sun Qingxue still couldn't guess it, she would be a fool. Go up and see. Yang Chun summoned the shuttle and flew quickly to the height of the clouds with Sun Qingxue. After a big circle in the suspected area of Yang Chun, Sun Qingxue found a clue. There were actually a few points here that had spiritual power fluctuations. If one approached within 2 feet, they would discover that there were a few floating array formations that were constantly moving. In the formation, some water vapor was constantly produced, and it looked like clouds below. These formations were very delicate, and if you didn't get very close, you couldn't detect it at all. This was the wilderness, and it was not easy for people to pass by. It had not been noticed for tens of thousands of years. It was too normal. Chapter 503. The ingenuity of the formation was also that if one used spiritual awareness to explore from the bottom up, nothing could be found. Even if it was a master of the Deshang stage, it was impossible to find it. In this way, if someone wanted to stand on the ground and use spiritual awareness to find the abnormality in the sky, it was simply impossible. This was one of the reasons why this secret plane could survive for thousands of years. Several formations that made water vapor, that was a camouflage to cover the real entrance to the riddle and to point the way. Exploring from top to bottom, Yang Chen's powerful spiritual awareness quickly found the entrance. According to the method on the wooden sign, Yang Chen made a few symbols at the wooden sign. The simple wooden sign suddenly flashed, and then Yang Chen and Sun Qingxue appeared in a large open space. The open space was not big. It was a few thousand acres, which was the same as the area of the dozen or so mountains. In the middle of the open space, a palace stood alone. The surroundings were empty, except for the stones and sand. There was nothing. As soon as he entered a strange place, Yang Chen didn't think about it, and directly took out the bright ray sword. After a few months, Xiao Tian still hasn't consumed the dragon chi, but it has been attached to the bright ray sword. Yang Chen held the bright ray sword and felt at ease. After a few months of combat experience, Sun Qingxue has also accumulated some combat experience. She also summoned her body protection magic weapon and flying sword and stood by. The two haven't had time to figure out the situation around them, and Yang Chen had already felt a killing intent. Not far from the left side, a long gray blade slammed down from the top of his head. Yang Chen's right hand was raised, and the bright ray sword had been lifted to meet the long blade. Chi, with a soft sound, the bright ray sword and the long blade intersected, making a slight sound. Then, the long blade was cut into 2 pieces without any accident, and a green juice sprayed out from the mouth of the long blade. "Be careful, big brother Yang." Sun Qingxue behind him suddenly made a loud shout, and her figure rushed forward. She was originally behind Yang Chen, but now she came to the right side of Yang Chen. Yang Chen's spiritual awareness has also discovered the situation over there, but there were 3 gray long blades slashing toward Yang Chen. Originally, Yang Chen had to face the long blade, but at this moment, it became Sun Qingxue. Dang, dang, dang. 3 loud noises. The 3 long blades first swung away Sun Qingxue's flying sword, and then the remaining power did not reduce and cut on Sun Qingxue's body protection armor. Everything happened in the blink of an eye, and Yang Chen didn't even have time to make more reactions. It had already happened. Sun Qingxue's flying sword was directly blown away, and the body armor on her body blocked 3 heavy blows in a row, and a crack appeared in an instant. Fortunately, Because of the body protection armor, Sun Qingxue was not injured. Sun Qingxue, who suffered a heavy blow, directly leaned on Yang Chen's body, and Yang Chen also took out the secret key in an instant. A secret technique was released, and the two people instantly left the secret plane and appeared in the original air. Where are you hurt? Where are you hurt? Yang Chen was almost scared to death. The four long blades that just appeared, each of them had the level of the Yuanying stage. Sun Qingxue was only in the strength of the foundation stage. How could she resist it? I'm fine, big brother Yang. Sun Qingxue was also in shock. At that time, when she saw three long blades cut to Yang Chen, Sun Qingxue rushed up without thinking about it and blocked in front of Yang Chen. She did not think about whether she could block it or not. Even she herself estimated that she did not know why she would do such a move. Perhaps in the heart of Sun Qingxue, Yang Chen was the most important person. Yang Chen has already explored it with his spiritual awareness and looked around with his naked eyes. Sun Qingxue did not have any scars on her body, and he was relieved. Fortunately, this protective armor was one of the magic weapons that Elder Hua gave to Sun Qingxue before she left. The armor that had been refined by a master of the Deshang stage was indeed extraordinary. Even if Sun Qingxue was only in the foundation stage, she was still unscathed after blocking 3 attacks from the Yuanying stage. The only pity was that this armor had sacrificed a lot of protective power in order to allow Sun Qingxue to use it. After blocking these 3 attacks, it had been broken and there was no more protective function. Dare to hurt you, little Xue. You wait, I will avenge you. After recovering from the fear that Sun Qingxue was almost seriously injured, Yang Chen's first reaction was anger. Yang Chen was very grateful that Sun Qingxue actually sacrificed herself in front of him at that time and blocked the attack for him. Because of this, Yang Chen also wanted to kill the culprits who almost hurt Sun Qingxue. The long gray blade. Yang Chen saw clearly that it was the forearms of several huge gray praying mantis. These insects were estimated to be the guardian beasts of the secret plane. It was not known how many years they have lived in the secret plane. Anyway, these attacks already had the cultivation base of the Yuanying stage. It was just that they were now sealed in this secret plane and could not come out. The guardian beasts of the secret plane were to kill the strangers who broke in. Yang Chen and Sun Qingxue were strangers. There was no doubt about this, so as soon as the two entered, they were immediately attacked. After shouting, Yang Chen's figure disappeared directly, leaving Sun Qingxue outside the secret plane. Sun Qingxue was shocked, but she didn't have the key, so she couldn't get in. She could only watch Yang Chen enter the secret plane, but there was no way, and she waited anxiously outside. Die! After rushing into the secret plane, Yang Chen did not hesitate and directly slashed at the praying mantis whose arm had been cut off by the bright ray sword. Hey, there was another sound. This time it was not the forearm that was cut off, but a leg. But the life of the praying mantis was so strong that it didn't care at all. The huge forearm in the air was waved high and slashed toward Yang Chen. The other few were not willing to lag behind, and the insects did not have any idea of bullying. They only knew to destroy the strangers who broke in. A few gray shadows flashed quickly, and the speed of the praying mantis's forearm was terrifying. The eyes couldn't even catch the trajectory of the waving, and it had already slashed on Yang Chen's body. Dang dang, after a series of sounds, accompanied by a low and long buzzing sound, in the secret plane, except for Yang Chen, there was no standing creature. The attack of several guardian beasts caused the golden bell to ring. The consequence of the golden bell was that, except for the master, Yang Chen, all the creatures were shocked to the ground and could not get up for a long time. How could Yang Chen let go of such an opportunity? His figure flashed and quickly appeared in front of several huge praying mantis. The bright ray sword was raised high and fell heavily. 5 triangular gray heads were instantly cut off by Yang Chen. Green blood was sprayed everywhere, and at least half of the large open space was dyed with deep and light green. Chapter 504. There was nothing else for the time being, but Yang Chen was still not at ease. He first turned around and carefully explored it with his spiritual awareness. After determining that there was no guardian beast inside, he went out of the secret plane. Sun Qingxue had been waiting anxiously for a long time. Yang Qin's cultivation base was not much stronger than hers. The few attacks just now had let her know the level of those guardian beasts. Almost all of them were in the yuanying stage. Yang Chun rushed in alone. It was a disaster. At the thought of Yang Chun rushing in revenge, because she was almost cut, Sun Qingxue felt sweet in her heart. However, the huge gap between the two sides made Sun Qingxue anxious and almost vomit blood. Now she couldn't get into the secret plane. She could only keep praying that Yang Chun would not have an accident. When Yang Chen's figure suddenly appeared, Sun Qingxue could no longer hold back her emotions. She directly threw herself into Yang Chen's arms and burst into tears. It was only a dozen breaths, but Sun Qingxue felt as if it had been more than 10 years. Yang Chun had never encountered such a situation. For a while, he also panicked. His hands were placed on both sides of his body, almost as if he was frozen, and he did not dare to move. He let Sun Qingxue hold his neck and cry in his arms, but he did not know what to do. Sun Qingxue's body was very soft and warm. Maybe this crying let her completely release all the pressure, and she cried for a long time. Slowly, Yang Qin's body was not so stiff, and his hands also responded. He raised them in the air and hesitated. He did not know if he should coax Sun Qingxue. Finally, he gently put his hand on the back of Sun Qingxue and gently patted a few times. "Okay, little Shui, aren't I all right?" Yang Chun said softly. With Yang Chen's soft authority, Sun Qingxue finally stopped crying. Her hand slowly released from Yang Chen's neck and began to wipe her tears. When Sun Qingxue completely stopped crying, she suddenly realized what she had just done. Her pretty face was red, and she hurriedly lowered her head and did not dare to raise it again. This shock was what Yang Chun did not expect before. Yang Chun did calculate the guardian beast, but he did not expect that as soon as he entered, he would be attacked by the guardian beast. In his previous life, Yang Chun had never entered the secret pavilion, not even the secret pavilion of Chunyang Palace. He only knew that there were good things in it and there were guardian beasts. However, he still felt that the guardian beast must verify the identity of the intruder before attacking. Yang Chun had the key to the secret plane in his hand. He should be the owner of the secret plane. Even if the guardian beast did not recognize it, at least there was time to prepare. Who knew that he would be attacked without saying anything? This was Yang Chen's calculation error, and it almost led to a major accident. If it weren't for Sun Qingxue's protective armor given by Elder Hua Wanting, maybe Sun Qingxue would be in danger. Otherwise, why would Yang Chun have a burst of fear? He couldn't predict how serious the consequences would be if Sun Qingxue had an accident. Not to mention the wrath of Elder Hua. Once it affected the cooperation between Blue Cloud Sect and Chunyang Palace, it was simply not redeemable. In addition to calling it lucky, Yang Chun didn't know how to describe the situation just now. He said that he was just comforting Sun Qingxue. But didn't Yang Chun say those words to himself? It seemed that even if there was a big killing weapon like the memory of the previous life, sometimes he had to be careful. Otherwise, it would be an irreversible situation. This was the most direct lesson that Yang Chun learned from it. It should be all right now. Let's go in and see. After the two calmed down for a while, Yang Chun once again sent an invitation to Sun Qingxue. Of course, Sun Qingxue had no objection, but she still carefully changed to a protective magic weapon, and then signaled Yang Chun to open the secret plane. Yang Chun had no opinion about this. There was nothing wrong with being careful. Although Yang Chun had explored it once, who knew if there was a fish that had escaped the net, Yang Chun did not dare to make a guarantee. As soon as she entered the secret plane, Sun Qingxue saw the 5 huge praying mantises. The body color of these praying mantises was almost exactly the same as the surrounding environment. At first, she didn't find it all. Now the green blood flowed all over the ground, and naturally, the outline could be clearly seen. How is this possible? Looking at everything in front of her, Sun Qingxue directly covered her mouth in horror. Just now, there were only 2 or 3 praying mantises, and they broke the armor that Hua Wanting prepared for Sun Qingxue. The strength of these praying mantises could be seen. Even with Sun Qingxue's experience, she could judge that the cultivation of these praying mantises was at least at the level of the Yuanying stage. But Yang Chun, from the anger of shouting revenge to coming in and going out, it was only a dozen breaths. 5 such powerful Yuanying stage praying mantis beasts were turned into corpses, and they were all decapitated. But Yang Chun was only in the late foundation stage. At best, it was a little higher than Sun Qingxue, and it was not much higher. How could he behead 5 Yuanying stage beasts in this short period of a dozen breaths? Sun Qingxue couldn't help but be shocked. Even if Hua Wanting came here, she would not necessarily be as happy as Yang Chun. They could definitely be killed, but it was impossible to be as clean as Yang Chun. Sun Qingxue's shock was that she discovered the huge gap between herself and Yang Chun. Things that seemed impossible to her were so simple in the hands of Yang Chun. Maybe now everyone is in the foundation stage, and the gap is not big, but once everyone's cultivation grows, the gap becomes bigger and bigger. Sun Qingxue doesn't know if she will be embarrassed to see Yang Chun again. There is never a moment when Sun Qingxue was so eager to have more power and broader knowledge. Maybe only in this way could she keep up with the footsteps of Yang Chun and not be left too much by Yang Chun. Yang Chun certainly didn't know that his revenge and anger would make Sun Qingxue have such a thought. He was still thinking about what good things would be in the palace in the center of the secret plane. These corpses, you have 3, and I have 2, divide them. The body of the Yuanying stage monster beast, that was a good thing. It was possible to use it for alchemy refining. It could not be casually wasted. Sun Qingxue doesn't seem to refuse Yang Chun. What Yang Chun said, she obediently put away the bodies of the 3 praying mantis. Until now, her heart was still full of doubts. She didn't know how Yang Chun did it. The 2 carefully walked to the door of the palace. There was no accident on this trip. It was calm. Guess what good things will be inside? When Yang Chun released his spiritual awareness to explore the interior of the palace, he also smiled and chatted with Sun Qingxue. As long as there are no more accidents. Sun Qingxue glanced at Yang Chun and suddenly whispered. Chapter 505. In the secret plane, there seemed to be only 5 big, praying mantises as guardian beasts, and there were no other living creatures. Even after the 2 of them entered the palace, there was still no movement. Sun Qingxue seemed to be a little afraid of what had just happened. Even after entering the palace, she still carefully opened the protective magic weapon and did not dare to have the slightest carelessness. Yang Chun was the same, but it was much better than Sun Qingxue. After all, the golden bell would appear as long as it moved, and it would actively absorb the attack, which made Yang Chun have a lot more to rely on. The palace was very large, and there seemed to be an underground spiritual vein here, causing the spiritual power in the secret plane to be much higher than outside. It was for this reason that those big praying mantises could live to the present. However, what was strange was that this sect had been destroyed for at least 10,000 years, and those big praying mantises had lived for tens of thousands of years, but they were still in the Yuanying stage, which was a bit confusing. Since they couldn't be promoted to the Deshang stage, it was obviously abnormal that they still had such a long life. But now was not the time to pursue these reasons. They had already entered the hall, and it would be unreasonable to not plunder it. The entrance to the palace was a hall with several doors around it. In the hall, it was empty except for a well. A thick spiritual power overflowed from the well, which was clearly the exit of a spiritual vein. However, there was no dust-proof formation arranged here. There was dust everywhere, and when one stepped on it, it was a few inches thick. There were no labels on the several gates. It seemed that they could only go in one by one. Yang Chun scanned with his spiritual awareness and motioned to Sun Qingxue to put away the flying sword. At the level of the foundation stage, it was indeed a bit tiring to use a defensive magic weapon and a flying sword at the same time. This time, it was Yang Chun who wanted to hone Sun Qingxue, and naturally, Sun Qingxue's choice was the main one. Sun Qingxue happily opened the first door on the right, and Yang Chun walked in first, blocking Sun Qingxue behind his body. This room looked like a study. The surrounding wall was lined with bookshelves. However, there were only a few hundred jade scrolls covered in dust on the bookshelf. There was nothing else. There used to be a painting hanging on the wall, but now it was empty. There was only a broken scroll, which was so rotten that it was unrecognizable. Sun Qingxue curiously walked to the side of the bookshelf and reached out to pick up a jade slip. As soon as his hand touched the bookshelf, it turned into a pile of dust. It disappeared with a loud rumble. Fortunately, Sun Qingxue had been using her protective magical equipment and retreated in time, so she was not surrounded by the rising smoke and dust. Fortunately, there was nothing wrong with the jade slip. Sun Qingxue had no choice but to explore the contents of the jade slip with her spiritual awareness. However, she found that she could not understand what was recorded in it. The curved text was the same as the one on the secret key. After thinking about it, Sun Qingxue handed the jade slip to Yangchun. When Yangchun was investigating, she went directly forward and collected all the jade slips scattered in the bookshelf powder and sent them to Yangchun. These are the inheritance of this sex cultivation method. Yangchun read a few and shook his head. The ancient cultivation method, there are many fallacies in it. There is no reference value. Just like in the Blue Dome Immortal's cave, these cultivation methods are somewhat outdated and can no longer be compared with the current cultivation system. Even the reference value was not available. Anyway, I have no use for it. Or Big Brother Yang, you put away. Sun Qingxue knew that she did not know these and gave them all to Yangchun. To talk about cultivation methods, in the scripture pavilion of the Blue Cloud sect, there were hundreds of thousands of cultivation methods. Or would there be a need to refer to the cultivation methods of 10,000 years ago? Yangchun also didn't care and put it away. These things were only valuable as antiques. If someone wanted to sort out the changes of the cultivation method, these were valuable information, but if they wanted to cultivate, it was purely looking for trouble. The two looked at the room for a while and found nothing worth taking away. Then they turned back to the hall and continued to enter the second door. As soon as they entered the door, they were greeted by a rusty, giant cauldron with a height of 2 people. There was almost no need to ask. This must be a pill room. On the other side of the wall, there was a small stone compartment, which should be filled with things, but these things were covered with dust, and they couldn't see what it was for a while. Big Brother Yang, you are familiar with alchemy. You should come and see. Sun Qingxue looked at this scene and directly pushed Yangchun to the front. Yangchun was not polite. When it came to alchemy, no one in the mortal world was more knowledgeable than him, and he walked to the front. Walking to the side of the giant cauldron, he reached out, and Yangchun touched the body of the cauldron. His spiritual awareness explored it, and soon there was a result. He said to Sun Qingxue, "This alchemy furnace, the level is average, but the materials are not bad. You can put away." Yangchun could say that the materials were not bad, then the materials must be good. Sun Qingxue stepped forward and put the giant cauldron into the Chinquan bag. Then she watched Yangchun walk to the front of the stone compartments over there and reached out one by one to check. Most of these compartments were buried in dust, and most of them were medicinal materials. However, after tens of thousands of years here, they had already turned into powder, and with the dust, they couldn't be distinguished at all. After searching several compartments in a row, it was the same. After 10,000 years, even the rarest spiritual medicine had turned into dust. But there was nothing worth taking in the room except for the big cauldron. The third door looked bigger than the other doors, and it seemed that it should lead to the master's room. However, as soon as Yangchun went in, he saw a pair of big eyes staring at him, almost in front of him. Yangchun was shocked. The bright ray sword was quickly held in his hand, and Sun Qingxue was blocked outside with one hand. Just as he was about to make a move, he found that the other party was actually motionless. When he took a closer look, he found that it was just the body of a big praying mantis. Exploring with his spiritual awareness, Yangchun soon found that there were more than 20 bodies of big praying mantis in this room. This was the only dust-free room here. More than 20 big praying mantis lined up, almost all in the same posture. With the support of its 6 legs, its huge body stood steadily, like a stone statue. Oh my God! Sun Qingxue also came in, and when she saw this scene, she couldn't help but exclaim. Yangshan now knew why there were 5 Yuanying stage praying mantis outside. It must be that the original guardian beast gave birth to the little praying mantis when it felt that its life was coming to an end. Then the little praying mantis grew up generation by generation and grew to the Yuanying stage. No wonder Yangshan was attacked as soon as he came in. It turned out that these praying mantis didn't know the rules at all. Chapter 506. These more than 20 praying mantis corpses, in Yangshan's view, were the remains of the peak Yuanying stage. In this closed secret plane, they could not be promoted to the Deshang stage at all, and their lifespan was naturally not so long. It was certain that these corpses left behind were all female praying mantises. Yangshan knew a little about the habits of praying mantises. It seemed that after mating, the female praying mantis would eat the male praying mantis to ensure the nutrition of the next generation. What made Yangshan feel strange was that these female praying mantises did not advance because they ate the same peak Yuanying stage male praying mantis. Or was it because they ate the male praying mantis, so they had the cultivation base of the peak Yuanying stage? In short, this was already a mystery that could not be solved. Half of it you choose first. Yangshan waved his hand and once again started the bandit business with Sun Qingxue. How precious the body of a Yuanying stage monster was. Even if it was Sun Qingxue, a little fellow who didn't know much, she was very clear. Sun Qingxue did not think like Shi Shanshan. Yangshan asked her to take it. She was not polite to Yangshan and directly started. After counting left and right, she took the 12 on the right and left the remaining 13 to Yangshan. Why don't you take one more? Yangshan asked strangely. I've just taken one more. Sun Qingxue did not hide her thoughts in front of Yangshan and said directly, this is just the same for us. Don't give it to others easily when you go back. Take it to Elder Hua and let her deal with it. Yangshan nodded and did not say anything more on this issue. He just told Sun Qingxue that she had no experience and would be cheated. If you can refine puppets, you'll have a few more Yuanying stage puppets to protect your body. The body of an original infant stage beast, not to mention the fact that the body itself was a treasure. Just the beast core itself was priceless. Even if the 2 of them came in empty-handed, the 15 praying mantis corpses each was already a bountiful harvest. Such a complete corpse of a demonic beast with the same cultivation level was the best material to refine a puppet. If an expert took action, it could even maintain the cultivation level of the puppet before it died. In this regard, Yangshan did not overstep his boundaries. Would the Blue Cloud sect be afraid of not having a few cultivation techniques for refining puppets? The only regret was that Yangshan had beheaded the 5 that were still alive in his rage. With this huge harvest, the rest would be for naught. After the 2 of them finished dividing the loot excitedly, they casually turned to the next door. This room was a place for refining weapons, and the surroundings were filled with materials for refining weapons. Presumably, the entire sect savings were all here, almost filling up the entire room. Yangshan and Sun Qingxue had to dig out the materials bit by bit under a thick pile of dust, so that Yangshan could identify them. There were a lot of good things, but unfortunately, except for the materials of the metal and earth attributes, the other wood and water attributes had decayed and evaporated, and there were not many left. The 2 of them didn't care. No matter how small the mosquito was, it was still meat. There were things to take, and the materials were very good. Sun Qingxue was very happy. The Blue Cloud sect had a lot of rules, and Sun Qingxue had never gone out to gain experience. Although she had a master in the Deshang stage, her family was not rich. With these things, Sun Qingxue also had the posture of a little rich woman, and she was proud of herself. There was only one last door left, and Sun Qingxue's interest did not diminish. She directly pushed the door and was about to rush in. Suddenly, a fire rushed out of the door. If it weren't for Yangshan's quick reaction, Sun Qingxue would have almost hit the flame. What is this? Sun Qingxue was also shocked. She turned her head, but found that Yangshan actually looked at the flame that had been retracted and smiled, and couldn't help but ask curiously. Pure flame, true fire. The smile in Yangshan's eyes was not hidden at all. Looking at the tumbling flame, Yangshan almost laughed out loud. Fifth grade fire seed. Sun Qingshue's eyes also lit up. Yang Chun used 800 pounds of jade dragon wine to exchange for the whereabouts of the two kinds of fire seeds of the wine Immortal, the Netherworld fire and the Earth Fiend fire, which were only fifth grade fire seeds. There was actually a fifth grade fire in front of him. Wasn't this Yang Chun's luck? Knowing that this was the fire seed Yang Chun needed, Sun Qingxue couldn't help but be happy for Yang Chun. In this room, it seemed that there was only such a flame, and it seemed that it belonged to Yang Chun. However, Yang Chun's happiness was far more than just finding a fifth grade fire. Although the pure flame true fire could be comparable to the true sun fire, there was one thing that the true sun fire could not reach. The pure flame true fire was usually accompanied by the third fire true essence. This was a strange relationship. Although the pure flame true fire was not the highest level of fire seed, it could be accompanied by the most original third fire true essence. Yang Chun thought that he could find the third fire true essence and complete the great Yin and Yang five-element secret art when he got to the spiritual world. He did not expect that in this secret plane that he accidentally discovered, there would be such a big thing waiting for him. Now that he thought about it, it was estimated that the pure flame true fire and the third fire true essence should be the real reason why this unlucky sect was destroyed. Unfortunately, the enemy's luck was not good. They dug 3 feet into the ground and did not find what they wanted, but at this time, Yang Chun and Sun Qingxue benefited. Big Brother Yang has a fire spirit root. These are naturally Big Brother Yang's. However, Yang Chun had not yet spoken, and Sun Qingxue had already given things to Yang Chun. Even if the sect needed it, it was not as big as the need of Big Brother Yang. This was the idea of Sun Qingxue. Protect me. At this time, Yang Chun was not polite with Sun Qingxue and directly ordered. Then he took out the black jade futon and placed it on the well in the hall, and began to collect the pure flame true fire, as well as the third fire true essence flowing on the floor of the room. Sun Qingxue did not say anything. She sacrificed the flying sword and began to wait around. In fact, in this secret plane, they have already searched it once. Except for this room full of flames, there was no one in the other rooms. Where would there be enemies? It was simple to collect the pure flame true fire. After all, Yang Chun did not absorb it now, he just collected it. As long as he found something that could preserve the fire seed, he could preserve the pure flame true fire. The real trouble was to collect the third fire true essence. With Yang Chun's current cultivation base, it was indeed slightly insufficient. Fortunately, there is an underground spiritual vein here which could provide a steady stream of spiritual power, which made Yang Chun almost able to proceed smoothly. Just refining the talisman to preserve the ice fire true essence, Yang Chun refined it for more than 4 months. When it came to collecting the third fire true essence, it took a long time. This action lasted for 5 years. It was only then that the ice and fire true essence flowing under the fire vein in this room was collected into a jade bottle. Chapter 507. At the moment when he put away the jade bottle containing the third fire true essence, Yang Chun couldn't believe that he had such good luck. In a few years, not only did he collect the 10th water true essence, but he also got the third fire true essence. It was so smooth that it was unbelievable. In the past 5 years, Sun Qingxue has also been cultivating. After a period of fighting, Sun Qingxue seems to have a lot of experience in how to fight with the monsters of the same level. In the process of cultivation, she has also realized many parts that she had not been able to understand before. In just 2 years, it seems that her cultivation base has gone to the next level. Although Sun Qingxue still stayed in the middle stage of the foundation stage, the overall small level has improved by 1 level. Compared with the previous closed-door work in the Blue Cloud sect, it was definitely much better. Sun Qingxue has even made up her mind to enrich her experience through this kind of battle in the future. The collection of the third fire true essence was not as good as the 10th water true essence. With the Jade Cup, the 10th water true essence would be automatically collected, and the ice fire true essence Yang Chun could only collect it bit by bit. When Dao Ba was in the peak yuanying stage, it still took 10 years to collect the 7th metal true essence. Yang Chen's previous life was extremely good at controlling the fire. With such experience, with the help of the feng shui line, it still took 5 years to really complete it. Big Brother Yang. Seeing that Yang Chen finally put away the jade bottle, Sun Qingxue knew that Yang Chen must have completed all the collection work. She didn't know why. When Yang Chen completed this, Sun Qingxue was also very happy and cheerfully called Yang Chen. Did you find anything good? Yang Chen also looked at Sun Qingxue with a smile. In the past 5 years, Sun Qingxue has continued to search in the palace. At least the entire palace was cleaned by Sun Qingxue. It was spotless, and it was no longer covered with a few inches of dust. No, Sun Qingxue also laughed. With 15 corpses of nascent soul stage praying mantises, it was already a big profit. Sun Qingxue did not expect more benefits. The process of searching was just a way for her to kill time when she was bored. Although there was nothing, Sun Qingxue was still beaming with joy. Maintain your current state of mind, Yang Chen reminded him with a smile. Don't be confused by external things at any time. I know, Big Brother Yang. In front of Yang Chen, Sun Qingxue was absolutely well-behaved. If Yang Chen didn't have a memory of his previous life and knew how powerful the dancing snow fairy was at that time, now seeing the performance of Sun Qingxue, he couldn't believe that this was the same person. Everything here had been plundered clean, and the only thing left was the underground spiritual vein. This thing couldn't be moved away. Yang Chen let Sun Qingxue have a good practice on it, and then after the spiritual power of the pure bottle medicine garden was completely replenished, the two finally set foot on the road to leave. Near the entrance, Yang Chen took the key to the secret plane and reminded Sun Qingxue. Both of them launched the protective magic weapon. Then Yang Chen made a secret technique to leave, and instantly the figures of the two appeared in the air outside. People were still in the clouds, and Yang Chen suddenly noticed a trace of hostility. Without thinking about it, Yang Chen called out the shuttle and put himself and Sun Qingxue in it. The shuttle instantly drew an arc and disappeared into the sky. Between the lightning and flint, a huge and unparalleled spiritual awareness swept directly and swept on the escaping shuttle. Brush, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. It seemed to be surprised, and then suddenly chased in the direction of the escape of the shuttle. When the spiritual awareness swept over, Sun Qingxue was almost like falling into an ice cellar, and her whole body was cold. Just being swept by the aftermath, she had been suppressed by the powerful spiritual awareness, and her whole body could not move. She could not even lift a little finger. Until the shuttle escaped from the scope of the spiritual awareness, Sun Qingxue eased a little from the shock and fear. Still with infinite fear, she asked, Big Brother Yang, who is that? I don't know. Although Yang Chen was not affected by the spiritual awareness, he was also shocked by the cultivation of the other party. It may be the enemy of the sect that was destroyed in the past. They are waiting here. They want to know the location of the secret plane. This guess was very reasonable. The place was originally a very remote place, and the spiritual power was not enough. But there was actually such a terrifying master. There was no reason at all. The only explanation was that they were waiting to see if anyone came to find the location of the secret plane. But the sect has been destroyed 10,000 years ago. Sun Qingxue asked incredulously. It was incredible that the enemy of 10,000 years ago was still guarding it until now. It may not be the group of people in the past, but their descendants. Yang Chen also knew that it was impossible for the guy from 10,000 years ago to live to the present, and guessed they know that there is something they need here, so they have been guarding it. What is the cultivation of that person just now? Big Brother Yang. Sun Qingxue was frightened this time. She, who had never really faced the extreme pressure of a master, was almost scared to the point of paralysis. If it weren't for Yang Chen, she might have already fallen into the hands of the other party. The Shang stage. Yang Chen also couldn't believe it. The other party turned out to be a master of the Dashang stage, which made him unexpected. The master of the late Dashang stage. Late Dashang stage? Sun Qingxue's face had already shown a look of disbelief. She thought that the master of the late Deshang stage was actually guarding their two younger generation juniors in the foundation stage. This sounded so incredible that it felt a bit illusory. His cultivation base has reached a bottleneck, and he needs the third fire true essence to break through the bottleneck, and then reach the peak Deshang stage cultivation base and even ascend. Yang Chun has found a little clue from a little bit of clues. I haven't been able to find the secret plane, so I can't get the third fire true essence. Just after saying this, the shocking spiritual awareness had already swept over again. Sun Qingxue fell into a state of absent-mindedness again and could no longer speak. Although Sun Qingxue had already endured Shi Yinha's coercion once, Shi Yinha was still merciful in the face of her sex disciple. However, the other party obviously did not have such an idea. Instead, she directly released the most powerful spiritual awareness. If she was not careful, she would be injured by the spiritual awareness. Bang, without thinking about it, Yang Chun directly shot and knocked Sun Qingxue out. Then the shuttle was almost driven to the limit by Yang Chun, madly fleeing in the direction of the Blue Cloud sect. The unconscious Sun Qingxue would not feel the horror of the other party, nor would she have to bear that kind of terrifying pressure. But Yang Chun had already begun to complain, and the other party had already madly caught up. Soon, the master of the Deshang stage concluded that Sun Qingxue did not have the key to open the secret plane, nor did she have the ice and fire true essence. What made the masters of the Deshang stage strange was that Yang Chun only had the key to the secret plane, but there was no third fire true essence. This discovery made the anger of the master of the Deshang stage slightly reduced. As long as Yang Chun did not take away the third fire true essence, there would be a chance. But what he was afraid of now was that Yang Chun would destroy the key to the secret plane in anger, which would not be worth the loss. The sect that was annihilated was a very strange sect. They even invented their own symbolic language to record everything about them. The master of the Deshang stage did not know this kind of rune. Even if he got the key, it was impossible to open the secret plane. With the cultivation base of this master, he could not force the secret plane, but after forcibly opening it, there was only one result. That was the collapse of the space inside, and nothing could be left. This was why he did not dare to risk opening the secret plane. Yang Chun was very surprised that Sun Qingxue could actually get in and out of the secret plane. This discovery made the master very surprised, but before he could take further action, Yang Chun and Sun Qingxue had already entered the secret plane again. In a flash, it had been 5.5 years, and they had not come out once. It was not easy to wait for Yang Chun and Sun Qingxue to appear. Yang Chun actually summoned a shuttle and ran away. The only explanation was that Yang Chun had discovered his intentions. This was also good. The master of the Deshang stage thought that if it was easy to get it, it would not be too much of a meaning. It was this kind of cat and mouse game that the master liked. Yang Chun was just a foundation stage cultivator. How long could he last to control the shuttle alone? The master of the Deshang stage was very confident, and his spiritual awareness kept tracking Yang Chun and the shuttle, far behind. Fortunately, he had gotten a few pieces of the best spirit stone before. Yang Chun thought his heart, but his hands did not dare to neglect. He was ready to use the best spirit stone at any time, waiting for the consumption of this piece of the best spirit stone. This chase and escape lasted for a whole month. A month's time was enough for Yang Chun to escape enough distance. The gap between the two was further widened. In front of him was the site of the Blue Cloud sect. Yang Chun did not think about it, and flew directly to the core site of the Blue Cloud sect. Such a movement immediately alarmed at least 3 masters of the Yuanying stage who were sitting in the mountain gate. Who dares to break into the Blue Cloud sect? A voice sounded in front of Yang Chun. Several figures appeared directly on the escape route of Yang Chun. Be careful, there are masters chasing after you. Yang Chun certainly would not trap these masters of the Blue Cloud sect and directly notified them. However, the shuttle did not stop at all. When it rushed to the vicinity of the masters, it made a light turn and bypassed the 3 masters of the Yuanying stage, and still rushed to the hall of the Blue Cloud sect. Bold! A master of the Yuanying stage just shouted, and suddenly noticed the spiritual awareness that was chasing after him, and his face changed dramatically. Get out of my way! Don't block my way! The master of the Blue Cloud sect who was chasing shouted, and he did not mean to avoid it all. He was still in the air, and with a wave of his hand, the three masters of the Yuanying stage felt that they were pushed aside by a powerful force, and they could not help but dodge to the side. The figure flashed, and the huge and terrifying pressure let the three know who had just passed by. After thinking about it, the three of them were shocked. A master of the Deshang stage just rushed into the sect like this? Warning! Warning! Inform the sect. No longer caring about any demeanor, a master of the Yuanying stage began to wave his arms and shouted loudly before he landed. The disciples on duty below did not dare to neglect and hurriedly issued a warning. This time, it was like poking a hornet's nest. Countless figures flew out of the Blue Cloud sect and rushed in this direction. The one in front was a master of the Deshang stage, and also the one who participated in the Battle of the 100,000 Mountains, the Blue Cloud sect's Law Home Master Yinha. As soon as she rose into the air, Yangchen's shuttle had already rushed past, leaving only a lingering sound of Yangchen. Be careful, the other party is a master of the late Deshang stage. Chapter 509. The master of the late Deshang stage, Yinha, who was in the air, was taken aback. Although she was in the Deshang stage, she was only in the middle Deshang stage. In the face of a master in the late Deshang stage, she may not be able to catch up. However, the Blue Cloud sect was the Blue Cloud sect. In addition to the masters, there were also various mountain protection formations. Yinha waved her small hand gently, and in an instant, the entire territory of the Blue Cloud sect rose with a bright light, and Yinha's figure also disappeared in a large group of fog that had just appeared. Bang! The master of the Deshang stage, who was chasing, directly hit the newly launched mountain protection formation of the Blue Cloud sect, making a loud bang. The mountain protection formation of the Blue Cloud sect, after a flash of light, returned to normal. The master who was chasing had already broken the outermost mountain protection formation and flew directly to this side, regardless of whether he hit the formation or not. Who are you, Daoist friend? What are you doing in my Blue Cloud sect? Yinha heard clearly that Yangchen was in the shuttle just now. So there must be Sun Qingxue. She immediately sent out her spiritual awareness and hit the other person's spiritual awareness from afar. The cultivation of the person who was chasing was weak, so Yinha only politely asked the other party to report his name. This old man is Luo Yuan. The speed of the master who was chasing did not slow down, but this thought had already been passed through the spiritual awareness. Hand over the kid who escaped in, and this old man will turn around and leave. That is our sect's distinguished guest. Please forgive my Blue Cloud sect for not being able to comply. The Blue Cloud sect was also one of the top sections. If they were scared by this and obediently handed over Yangchen, then the Blue Cloud sect would not be able to mix in the future. In their own sect's territory, people came to take away their distinguished guest. The Blue Cloud sect could not afford to lose this face. Then don't blame this old man for being impolite. Luo Yuan's figure did not slow down at all. At this moment, he had already crashed into the second layer of the mountain protection formation. That almost unbreakable mountain protecting Grand Array, in front of Luo Yuan, was like a piece of paper. A big hole immediately appeared, although it quickly recovered. But Luo Yuan had already rushed into the Grand Array. Yangchen had rushed to Elder Hua Wanning's side at this moment. The Blue Cloud sect's alarm sounded everywhere. No one could stay still. All of them flew into the air to investigate. Elder Hua just met with Sect Master Lu and saw Yangchen's shuttle flying quickly in front of them. Senior, catch. As Yangchen spoke, Sun Qingxue's body suddenly appeared in front of Elder Hua. Hua Wanning was shocked. She subconsciously reached out and held Sun Qingxue in her arms. Seeing that Sun Qingxue was unconscious, Elder Hua and Sect Master Lu were about to ask questions. Yangchen had already driven the shuttle far away, leaving only a voice this junior will take that guy away. What happened in the end? Everyone was confused, but immediately everyone was nervous. The second layer of the mountain protecting Grand Array was actually broken. Although it has not yet entered the core area, this was already a shame that Blue Cloud Sect has never had since the founding of the sect. Bold! Sect Master Lu shouted, and two masters of the Deshang stage had already rushed out. It was Elder Hua and another elder who had contributed in the 100,000 mountains. Two masters of the Deshang stage, plus Elder Shi Yinhe, who had already gone out. The three people in three directions directly surrounded Luo Yuan, who was rushing over. No matter how strong Luo Yuan was, under the siege of three masters of the Deshang stage, he had to stop, but his spiritual awareness was still sweeping and scrupulously tracking Yang Chen's shuttle. Fellow Taoist rushing around like this. Are you bullying my Blue Cloud sect? Elder Hua shouted at Luo Yuan. Who is that little girl? Luo Yuan stopped in the same place, pointing far away to Sun Qingxue, who had been rescued by another elder. That's my disciple. Elder Hua did not expect the other party to ask about the identity of Sun Qingxue, but at this moment, how could she hide it? And unabashedly said the identity of Sun Qingxue. Did my disciple offend you, to let fellow Taoists chase like this? Since she is a disciple of the Blue Cloud sect, then let's write it off. Luo Yuan was also a decisive person. He immediately knew that there was no advantage in the Blue Cloud sect. Moreover, looking at the posture of Sun Qingxue, it was clear that she had been following Yang Chun and could not play any big role. The key was with Yang Chun, and he could not be entangled here, and immediately drew a line with the Blue Cloud sect. I have offended you. After saying this, Luo Yuan's figure flashed and immediately flew back. He had already felt that Yang Chen's shuttle had escaped far away, and he was afraid that he would never be able to catch up. He did not think about it, and quickly disappeared. There were two bangs in the distance. It was Luo Yuan who broke two layers of the mountain protection array, and his figure disappeared instantly, leaving a group of Blue Cloud sect people who did not know what happened, looking at each other. Little Shuao, what happened? Hua Wanting flew back to the side of Sun Qingxue. After a moment of careful exploration, she found that she was not injured all over her body, and asked anxiously, I don't know, I and Brother Yang just came out of the secret plane and were chased by him. Sun Qingxue only remembered that she was chased as soon as she came out of the secret plane. What happened later, she did not know, only that when she woke up, she was in the arms of an elder. At this moment, her master asked, and Sun Qingxue hurriedly replied, Secret plane? What's secret plane? Everyone was shocked. It actually involved the secret plane, and Hua Wanting was even more surprised to ask. Sun Qingxue was about to answer, but was stopped by Sect Master Lu. The Sect Master first let people lift the alarm, appease the disciples, and then let everyone return to the main hall of the sect. After a few restrictions, he said with a pleasant face, Little Shui, you explain the cause and effect clearly. This was where the sect was, and Yang Chun never said to hide from the sect. In front of her master, Sun Qingxue told the whole story of Yang Chen's search for the secret plane. Hearing that Yang Chun took Sun Qingxue to break into a secret plane and also collected Qinyang True Fire and Third Fire True Essence, everyone looked incredible. If it wasn't for the 15 praying mantis corpses that Sun Qingxue brought back in front of everyone, no one could believe that this was done by two juniors in the foundation stage. Yang Chun killed 5 big praying mantis in a dozen breaths. If they didn't listen to Sun Qingxue, who could know this? Who would believe it? 5 big praying mantis in the Yuanying stage, a junior in the foundation stage. How could it be possible? But the body of the praying mantis that was beheaded was here, and no one could tell the reason. It couldn't be that Sun Qingxue beheaded it, right? Why did the master of the late Deshang stage chase you? This was what everyone really wanted to know, but from the description of Sun Qingxue, they could not find any reason. The two juniors did not offend anyone, nor did they rob anything, which was very strange. Chapter 510. This secret key was won by Yang Chun from the hands of the Wine Immortal. The Wine Immortal lost wholeheartedly, which everyone knew for a long time. collecting the Qinyang true fire and the third fire true essence. That was Yang Chen's opportunity and luck, and it did not seem to hinder other people. Why did the master of the late Deshang stage even risk falling out with the Blue Cloud sect and still want to chase Yang Chen? Since he let Sun Qingxue go, it was estimated that one was to look at the face of the Blue Cloud sect, and the other was that Sun Qingxue did not have what he wanted. If this was the case, then there was only one possibility. Either Luo Yuan wanted the secret key, or he wanted the third fire true essence. The possibility of the third fire true essence was greater. With the third fire true essence, maybe he could break through the bottleneck of the late Deshang stage and step into the peak Deshang stage, or even ascend. Only this reason could reasonably explain Luo Yuaning's unreasonableness of offending the Blue Cloud sect. Yang Chen estimated that he saw this, so he would leave Sun Qingxue and run. The reason why he didn't stay was to avoid the embarrassment of the Blue Cloud sect. If Yang Chen stayed, the Blue Cloud sect and Luo Yuan would inevitably have a war. If Luo Yuan insisted on Yang Chen, as a distinguished guest of the Blue Cloud sect, the Blue Cloud sect would certainly not easily agree, and the war was inevitable. And because of Yang Chen, the Blue Cloud sect made an enemy of the late Deshang stage. Even if everyone would not say anything at the beginning, but afterwards, many people would definitely have opinions. Maybe it would also affect the cooperation between the Blue Cloud sect and Chunyang Palace. Yang Chen's departure saved the Blue Cloud sect from embarrassment, and at the same time, it seemed that the Blue Cloud sect felt that they owed something. It could not be said that because of this, in the future cooperation, the Blue Cloud sect would inevitably take care of the Pure Yang Palace. Of course, Yang Chen had two other plans that had nothing to do with the Blue Cloud sect. If Luo Yuan couldn't win in Blue Cloud sect, he would definitely go to Chunyang Palace to kill Yang Chen. At that time, it was hard to say whether Chunyang Palace could withstand Luo Yuan's attack. Yang Chen would never bring the calamities back to the sect. But if Yang Chen kept running like this, and the other party couldn't catch up, then it had nothing to do with Chunyang Palace. One-on-one, a late Deshang stage couldn't catch up with a younger generation junior in the foundation stage. Did he still have the face to go to other people's sect to make trouble? Now, this matter was not only known to the few involved, but also to the Blue Cloud sect. At that time, if Luo Yuan went to Chunyang Palace, the Blue Cloud sect would have a reason. You, a master of the late Deshang stage, can't even deal with a younger generation junior in the foundation stage. Now you have to come to other people's sect to make trouble. If the two sects attacked together, Luo Yuan was definitely not an opponent. Now Yang Chen had only one way: desperately escape with Luo Yuan. When he couldn't escape, it was not a big deal to use the power of the bloody river in his sea of consciousness to seriously injure Luo Yuan. Although the golden bell has always been on his body, Yang Chen did not dare to bet on this body protection magic weapon to protect himself. The attack of the Yuanying stage master, Yang Chen, could probably estimate it. The master of the Deshang stage, and also the late Deshang stage, Yang Chen could not guarantee that the golden bell could protect him. If he was not careful, it would be the end of death. Yang Chen had not yet reached the time when he was tired of living. Countless people saw this frightening moment. A bright light flashed in front of them. Before they could see clearly what it was, an overwhelming pressure descended, suppressing everyone to the point where they couldn't move at all. They were scared out of their wits and could only watch helplessly as another beam of light flew past them. It took a long time for them to return to normal. No one knew what the two lights were, but one thing everyone could be sure of was that there was a top master. As for whether it was running or chasing, no one could tell. If it was chasing, then who was the guy who was running away, so powerful that he could escape under the pursuit of such a master? If it was escaping, then it was even more terrible. What could make such a master flee in panic? In the midst of the crazy chase, Luo Yuan became more and more surprised. What kind of magic weapon was this shuttle? It was so fast, and it has been chasing for so many days, almost 2 months. Yang Chen did not show any signs of spiritual power exhaustion. Junior, hand over the secret key, and I will spare your life. Luo Yuan was surprised, but he could not help but have other thoughts. A spiritual sense followed the spiritual awareness to catch up with Yang Chun and sounded in Yang Chen's ear. Why? How could Yang Chun agree? Luo Yuan wanted the secret key, absolutely for the third fire true essence inside. Even if Yang Chun gave him the secret key, he could not get the third fire true essence. It would still be his own trouble. How could he agree? Catch up with me. Junior, don't give me face, stop it. Hearing Yang Chen's clamor, Luo Yuan almost burst his lungs. Catch up with him? Could it be that Yang Chun could escape for a lifetime? In his anger, Luo Yuan did not care about anything else and directly launched a spiritual awareness attack. At the beginning, Luo Yuan did not launch a spiritual awareness attack because he did not know the runes on the secret key and needed Yang Chen's guidance. He was afraid that a spiritual awareness attack would turn Yang Chun into a fool, and then he would get nothing. But now Yang Chun was so shameless. Even if he had to seriously injure Yang Chun, Luo Yuan would also attack. Fortunately, Luo Yuan was in a rage, but he still remembered to take back some of his spiritual awareness, so Yang Chun might still have a chance to wake up. What surprised Luo Yuan was that after his own spiritual awareness attack was sent out, it was like a clay ox entering the sea, and it did not cause any waves. How is this possible? Not to mention Yang Chun, a junior in the foundation stage. Even if it was a Yuanying stage master, in the face of a spiritual awareness attack, he would be injured. Luo Yuan was already furious at the moment, and a series of miscalculations made Luo Yuan unable to bear it any longer. He launched a spiritual awareness attack on Yang Chun. Xiao, an almost formed spiritual awareness, directly rushed into the shuttle and flew into Yang Chen's mind. There was no way to avoid it. Luo Yuan could easily see the state of Yang Chun. He was sitting in the shuttle at the moment. When the spiritual awareness attack entered his body, Yang Chen's figure did not shake, and he was still sitting in his position. But the movement of the shuttle was not hindered in the slightest, and it still maintained a terrifying high speed, without any signs of weakening. This time, Luo Yuan did not know what happened. He just looked at the shuttle flying at high speed, instinctively following, and his mind was blank. Could it be that Yang Chun was a master of the Deshang stage like him? Otherwise, how could there be no response to the spiritual awareness attack? Luo Yuan was surprised here, but Yang Chun was enduring tremendous pressure over there. Luo Yuan's two spiritual awareness attacks made Yang Chun suffer. If it weren't for the support of the three purities secret art, Yang Chun might have already fainted. Chapter 511. The powerful strength of a master of the Deshang stage. When fully launched a spiritual awareness attack, the damage caused could be imagined. The last time Guan Yuang just used a spiritual awareness shock, it made Yang Chun vomit blood. Guan Yuang was only a master of the Yuanying stage, but this time Luo Yuan was in the Deshang stage. Although Yang Chen's cultivation base has been improved a lot compared to that time, although Yang Chen's spiritual awareness has been much higher than at that time, but the huge difference in this level still made Yang Chun snort twice and vomit blood again. A mouthful of blood rushed into his mouth, but Yang Chun did not dare to spit out. If Luo Yuan behind him found out that he was vomiting blood, maybe he would immediately attack crazily. The violent spiritual awareness shock almost destroyed Yang Chen's sea of consciousness. If there were no Penglai Divine Wood and the huge ox skull as support, the fifth earth layer and the seventh metal layer paving, maybe his sea of consciousness would be directly shattered. Even so, the sea of consciousness only maintained the framework and no longer returned to its original appearance. And the injuries on his body were equally serious. The severe pain almost made Yang Chun faint. Fortunately, Yang Chen's performance deceived Luo Yuan, making Luo Yuan think that Yang Chun was not injured at all. Thinking of Yang Chen's previous performance, Luo Yuan instinctively felt that Yang Chun seemed to have some secret method and was not afraid of the spiritual awareness attack at all. It was a waste of effort to launch a spiritual awareness attack on a person who was not afraid of the spiritual awareness attack. Luo Yuan immediately stopped this inefficient method. Moreover, launching a spiritual awareness attack was not without any cost. The scope of his own spiritual awareness immediately became smaller, and if he launched a few more times, he might lose the trace of Yang Chun. Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness attack was different from his spiritual awareness mark. After the attack was launched, the connection with the main body was cut off, so even if Yang Chun wanted to rely on his spiritual awareness to hurt Luo Yuan, he could not do it. There was no other way but to escape. After a few dozen days of travel, it was the sea. Luo Yuan was a fire cultivator, and he might be restrained at that time. Yang Chun just desperately urged the shuttle forward and did not dare to stop. Fortunately, as long as the shuttle had enough spiritual power, it could fly quickly, and the best quality spirit stone also provided the shuttle with super abundant spiritual power. The shuttle flew all the way forward. Along the way, the people who witnessed Luo Yuan's formidable strength were all shocked. Those who were blocking the road couldn't help but blame their parents for not giving birth to 2 more legs. They hurriedly got out of the way for fear that Luo Yuan would use them as a punching bag. Yang Chen's sea of consciousness had been condensed once when he and Gao used spiritual awareness double cultivation. Fortunately, there was that time. This time, under Luo Yuan's attack, his sea of consciousness could barely maintain the state of not falling apart. The strength of a master of the Deshang stage made Yang Chun simply terrified. Because he was still within the range of Luo Yuan's spiritual consciousness exploration, Yang Chun did not even dare to brazenly swallow a healing pill. He could only rely on his own cultivation to slowly heal his injuries. The injury of his spiritual awareness was even more serious, and the 3 Purities secret art was almost unable to operate. Fortunately, Yang Chun endured the severe pain and forcibly lifted the 3 Purities secret art. After 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, he finally barely completed a cycle of cultivation. During the process, there were several times when Yang Chun almost fainted from the pain, but he still relied on his strong perseverance to stay awake. The 3 Purities secret art was absolutely powerful. There was no doubt about this. After cultivating the 3 Purities secret art once, his sea of consciousness, which was about to fall apart, seemed to have become stronger again. Those flame entities and phantoms that were almost scattered also began to slowly transform into a slightly recovered appearance. Yang Chun did not dare to neglect. He constantly operated the 3 Purities secret art. This was the key to his survival. Otherwise, if the other party attacked him again, he could only hate in the underworld. In the midst of the crazy escape, for 3 days and 3 nights, after a series of 3 Purities secret art cultivation, Yang Chun finally discovered with joy that his sea of consciousness had finally returned to its original appearance and was even stronger than before. The support of the Penglai Divine wood was more stable, and the entanglement of the Blood Phantom Vine was more dense. The 5th earth layer was getting deeper, and the 7th metal layer was getting denser. Those dense flame entities and phantoms were also getting brighter and brighter. After experiencing this heavy damage to his sea of consciousness, Yang Chun was a blessing in disguise. Once again, his sea of consciousness was condensed again. Even Yang Chun himself did not expect it. Of course, everything was still attributed to the strong sea of consciousness formed after cultivating the 3 Purities secret art. Otherwise, Yang Chun would have no chance at all. Luo Yuan, who was in pursuit, was also more and more surprised. Yang Chun's performance was not like a younger generation of the foundation stage. Now Luo Yuan was also in a difficult position. The attack of his spiritual awareness seemed to have no effect on Yang Chun, and the flying sword could not catch up with Yang Chun's speed. If it wasn't for his own strong spiritual awareness, he could still detect the trace of Yang Chun. Maybe he would have already been rid of it. Even so, the distance between the two was slowly getting bigger. One day, Yang Chun would escape from the coverage of Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness. The shuttle was still maintaining the direction of the crazy escape, and Yang Chun and the shuttle did not move much. This situation made Luo Yuan more and more suspicious. Was Yang Chun unconscious, and everything was flying by itself? However, just when Luo Yuan was about to be tempted, Yang Chun suddenly turned his head and glanced at him. This action made Luo Yuan give up the temptation. However, a more powerful anger rose in his heart. A small foundation stage junior dared to be so arrogant in front of himself. Even if he chased Yang Chun to the sky and into the earth, Luo Yuan would not give up. The barely recovered spiritual awareness, so that Yang Chun finally had the capital to resist Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness attacks. The injuries on his body were not so important. After cultivating the body of the yellow turban strongman body refining technique, in the past few days when the three purities secret art repaired the spiritual awareness injuries, the physical injuries have spontaneously improved, and even Yang Chun did not need to take any healing medicinal pills at all. Behind him, Luo Yuan was still in hot pursuit. The speed of the shuttle was faster than Luo Yuan, and it could not completely get rid of Luo Yuan's tracking. He couldn't beat him, and there was no other way but to escape like this. Luo Yuan was also a tortoise eating a weight. He was determined to chase Yang Chun. As long as he got the secret key of Yang Chun, after entering the secret plane and collecting the third fire true essence, he could break through the current bottleneck of his cultivation, enter the peak to Shang stage, and seek to ascend. For this purpose, he did not hesitate to be the enemy of the world. What was a small Yang Chun? In the widening gap between the two, Yang Chun finally saw the sea in the distance. Counting on his fingers, this chase and escape had lasted for more than 2 months. Luo Yuan's mind had changed from anger to anger, mixed with surprise. He never thought that a junior in the foundation stage could escape his pursuit, and, at the moment, there were signs of escape. Chapter 512. The endless sea was the best refuge for Yang Chun now. The speed of the shuttle in the water was the same as in the air, but the other party was different. Luo Yuan was a fire cultivator. In this vast sea, he was naturally restrained. Especially in the water, whether it was spiritual awareness or attack, it would be affected. The shuttle drew a perfect curve and plunged into the sea, rushing to the bottom of the sea. Looking at this scene, Luo Yuan suddenly became a little dumbfounded. If he chased, entering the water, his powerful cultivation base would be reduced. He couldn't catch up before, and now he couldn't catch up. If he didn't chase, wouldn't so many days of hard work be in vain? And he would be ridiculed by the people of Blue Cloud sect? Soon Luo Yuan found a way. Yang Chun was at the bottom of the sea, and he couldn't come out. There were so many powerful monsters in the bottom of the sea, and there would always be one that could force Yang Chun to escape. Luo Yuan's person was still in the air, but his spiritual awareness penetrated the sea, firmly locked the position of the shuttle, and followed closely in the air. Yang Chun, of course, was also aware of this. For Luo Yuan not entering the water, Yang Chun had already been mentally prepared. In this way, his next plan could be slowly realized. Unlike Wu Xiong and Elder Wu, Luo Yuan did not refine a magic weapon for transportation. He thought that as long as his sword technique was strong, he could replace it. Now, he finally tasted the bitterness. Since Luo Yuan was determined to get Yang Chun, he had not gotten any rest for a long time. However, Yang Chun was not tired at all on the shuttle, and could even spare time to cultivate carefully. The two were different, and naturally their spirit was completely different. As long as Yang Chun ran to a few more powerful monsters in the sea, he might be able to stimulate Luo Yuan and those monsters. 1 or 2 may not be Luo Yuan's opponents, but as long as there were more opponents, maybe Yang Chun would have a chance to take advantage of it. The Deshang stage was really terrible. As long as they made a move, Yang Chun had no possibility of survival. This was different from those masters of the Yuanying stage. Yang Chun did not dare to use his own life to bet that the Golden Bell could withstand Luo Yuan's attack. He could only use this roundabout means. This was a last resort. Since Yang Chun did not want to waste his natal magic treasure for the time being, he could only use this method. Fortunately, Yang Chun was still young, so he wasn't afraid that his opponent would fight him to the end. So far, a piece of top Great Spirit Stone has not even been consumed by a small half, and Yang Chun still had 6 top Great Spirit Stones of the same weight. According to this consumption rate, it was enough to spend a few years with the other party. Even if it was a master of the Deshang stage, If he didn't eat or drink for a few years, there would always be a chance, right? However, what surprised Yang Chun was that he did not encounter any powerful monsters along the way, even the peak Yuanying stage monsters. However, these monsters in the sea, after discovering that Yang Chun was rushing over at high speed, they were all ready to have a big meal, but as soon as they came into contact with Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness, they immediately fled far away and did not dare to show their heads, which made Yang Chun very disappointed. Just like Shi Kuei and Xie Sha, the monsters that could cultivate to the Yuanying stage were not fools, even in the sea. This time, Yang Chun was dumbfounded. No monster dared to fight Luo Yuan behind him. Wasn't this a big trouble? Wan Xian's cultivation was not worth a mention in the eyes of the other party. As soon as she appeared, it was estimated that she would be torn apart. The Dome Hall was not necessarily able to withstand the bombardment of a master of the Deshang stage. Yang Chun now had no choice but to run straight. On the vast sea, Yang Chun has been running with Luo Yuan for another 2 months, almost hundreds of thousands of miles, but Luo Yuan was still chasing him. If he went forward, he would go to an area that no one had ever been to. What was there? Even if Yang Chun had tens of thousands of years of memory in his previous life, it was not clear. The only thing that was certain was that there would definitely be a monster of the Deshang stage, or even a powerful monster that could compete with Luo Yuan. But Yang Chun rushed straight past like this, which was definitely provoking the tolerance of the monster. Maybe Luo Yuan had not caught up with him, and the powerful monster had already killed him. However, Yang Chun still couldn't stop. A few days ago, Yang Chun just hesitated a little, and the distance that was opened with great difficulty was caught up by Luo Yuan again. It seemed that Luo Yuan's idea was to fight with Yang Chun to the end. See who can't hold on first will fall into a disadvantage. If he died, then he died. Yang Chun gritted his teeth and continued to move forward. When he encountered a powerful monster, he would release the bloody river, and then Luo Yuan and the monster he encountered would be killed together. However, this was the final plan. It was related to his own flying sword and decades of hard work. Unless it was a last resort, Yang Chun would not use it. No one has ever gone so far into the sea. It was no longer an adventure, but a death sentence. While Yang Chun was gritting his teeth to escape, Luo Yuan was also gritting his teeth to hold on. Who knew that a little guy in the foundation stage would be so powerful? Under his nose, he took him to run for several months, and also went so far into the sea? Give up? Luo Yuan could not afford to lose this person. Even a little guy in the foundation stage dared to do so. He, a master of the late Deshang stage, retreated. If this was spread out, the surnamed Luo would no longer be able to be a person. In the depths of his heart, Luo Yuan also admired Yang Chun in front of him. Although he still did not know the identity of Yang Chun up to now, he dared to speak in front of him in the foundation stage and stood firm until now, which was worthy of admiration. At least Luo Yuan himself also considered himself a genius in cultivation, but when he was in the foundation stage, he did not have such a performance as Yang Chun. In front of him, Yang Chun also noticed that Luo Yuan was catching up. At the same time, he hated Luo Yuan, but he also tried his best, racking his brains to find ways to see how he could get rid of Luo Yuan's pursuit. Now Yang Chun has understood that the reason why Luo Yuan was able to catch up with him was that he has been within the scope of Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness exploration. The scope of a master of the late Deshang stage's spiritual awareness exploration, Yang Chun did not know, but when he was in the immortal falling abyss, Wu Xiong could cover a radius of thousands of miles. With this understanding, Yang Chun knew that if he wanted to completely rely on the speed of the shuttle to get rid of Luo Yuan's pursuit, he was afraid that it would take more than 10 years, unless there was a way to make Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness unable to find himself. Spiritual awareness could not be detected. Yang Chun's first reaction was the formation in the secret plane. If it was detected from the bottom up, it cannot be found at all. However, Yang Chun did not carefully study how to arrange the formation. This method would not work. Suddenly, Yang Chun's mind flashed the jade cup obtained in the treasure house of the Dragon Palace. It seemed that in addition to being able to condense the 10th water true essence, there was another characteristic of the Jade Cup, that was, the spiritual awareness could not detect it at all. Chapter 5:13. The head of the Chunyang Palace has received news from the Blue Cloud sect that Yang Chun was being chased by a master of the late Deshang stage, and his whereabouts were now unknown. The other party's name was Luo Yuan, but few people in the Blue Cloud sect have heard of his name. The cause of the incident was not very clear to Sun Qingxue, but after the analysis of the masters of the Blue Cloud sect, it was likely to be related to the secret key and the third fire true essence. After hearing the news, the first reaction of the head of the palace was to be furious. My Chunyang Palace disciple did not steal or rob things. Why should he be chased? Check for me, check for me. Who is this bastard son of a bitch? For the first time, the head of the palace did not have the majesty of the head of the palace. He behaved like a furious father who was bullied. I promised 10 questioning inner heart pills and destroy his whole family. This kind of unknown master of the Deshang stage was often from a certain aristocratic family. These people usually do not care about the right and wrong of the big sects. They only care about the rise and fall of their own family, and their reputation was usually prominent in a small area, but many people were not very clear. Listening to the statement of the Blue Cloud sect, Luo Yuan has not caught up with Yang Chun for the time being. Yang Chun has a very fast magic weapon. The other party can't catch up, but he has not been left behind and is still chasing. This statement made several senior members of the Chunyang Palace feel relieved and boldly promised the price of 10 questioning inner heart pills to destroy Luo Yuan and his family, daring to chase the disciples of the Chunyang Palace. If there was no response from the Chunyang Palace, what kind of sect would they set up? So what if the other party was a master of the late Deshang stage? 10 questioning inner heart pills. It was estimated that there would be at least 5 masters of the Deshang stage. They would rather hold the name of bullying the few, and had to find back this face. The only pity was that they still didn't know how Yang Chen's situation was, which made many people worried. The Blue Cloud sect was very apologetic. While bringing the news, it also brought the Blue Cloud sect's apology. At the very least, Yang Chen only left after sending Sun Qingxue back to Blue Cloud sect. Even with the strength of Blue Cloud sect, they did not stand up for Yang Chen. This went against their duties as allies. In the next 10 years, Blue Cloud sect would give an additional 20% of the profits of the 100,000 mountains to Chunyang Palace as an apology. Chunyang Palace couldn't do anything to the Blue Cloud sect in this matter. After all, Yang Chun was not a disciple of the Blue Cloud sect. It was normal for people not to want to become enemies with a master of the late Deshang stage. However, Yang Chun, such a talented disciple, actually fell in such a dangerous situation, it was really sad. After the incident, the Blue Cloud sect also felt that they did not do things properly. They were inquiring about the whereabouts of Yang Chun all over the world, which coincided with the practice of Chunyang Palace. Everyone was anxiously waiting for the news of Yang Chen's appearance. However, what surprised everyone was that the last place to see the two seemed to be at the seaside. Judging from the direction of Yang Chen's escape at that time, it was indeed in that direction. In other words, Yang Chen rushed directly into the sea, which made many people feel strange. Yang Chen was now holding the jade cup and pondering it up and down. Spiritual awareness couldn't be explored, which meant that it couldn't be marked with spiritual awareness at all. How could this be used for his own use? Luo Yuan was still in hot pursuit, and Yang Chun did not dare to be distracted to use his spiritual power to refine it. Moreover, if there was a similar thing to the Golden Bell last time, wouldn't Yang Chun be throwing himself into a trap? However, this characteristic of the Jade Cup was the best way that Yang Chun could think of to deal with Luo Yuan now. Once Yang Chun could master it, it meant that he could immediately get rid of Luo Yuan's pursuit, and Yang Chun was also forced into a dead end. Drop blood to recognize the owner? In Yang Chen's mind, the oldest and most simple method of recognizing the owner came to mind. It was the simplest way to temporarily connect the mind of the magic weapon and the user in the absence of spiritual awareness. It was also the simplest method. Could it be that this jade cup could also be used? Without thinking about it, Yang Chun directly cut a hole in his hand and forced out a drop of blood essence and dripped it on the jade cup. In the jade cup, there was already a lot of 10th water true essence. After such a long time, even if it was not on the sea, it still condensed a lot. A drop of blood essence went down, and suddenly, the bottom of the jade cup instantly turned red. The 10th water true essence dissolved Yang Chen's blood essence and evenly spread it all over the bottom of the jade cup. Whoosh! Yang Chen's mind seemed to flash, and countless complex information rushed straight into his mind. It contained the secret method of using the jade cup and the further refining method. Success? Yang Chun was also stunned for a while. Who would have thought that such a high-level magic weapon would use such a low-level method of recognizing the owner? It was so simple that Yang Chun himself felt a little unreasonable. With the refining method, Yang Chun was no longer afraid of the problem of insufficient spiritual power in the refining process. According to the contents recorded in the jade cup, a new round of refining was immediately started. The drop of blood to recognize the owner only made the jade cup belong to him. But in the case of strong spiritual power, it was still possible to be deprived. After refining, it was different. It would completely belong to Yang Chun. In the process of escaping, Yang Chun began to concentrate half of his mind on refining the jade cup. This jade cup, the old Dragon King had a name, called Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup. In addition to shielding the spiritual awareness and condensing the 10th water true essence, when the cultivation base reaches a certain level, it even has the ability to overturn rivers and seas. Of course, Yang Chun now only wants to shield the spiritual awareness. According to the method provided by the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup, Yang Chun began the process of refining with spiritual power. Luo Yuan estimated that he never dreamed that under his desperate pursuit, Yang Chun still had the leisure to quench his magic weapon. He has now urged all his strength to control the flying sword, but it is always a line away from the flying shuttle. He can only watch Yang Chun escape further and further. But this also aroused Luo Yuan's fierce thoughts. He wanted to see if Yang Chun would rather rush to the unknown sea to feed the monster, or stop and hand over the secret key to him. This chase and escape, it has been another half a year. It has been half a year since they went deep into the unknown sea. Along the way, for the time being, Yang Chun only encountered some Yuanying stage monsters. When they felt the spiritual awareness of Luo Yuan who was chasing behind, they would avoid far away, so there was no danger. Half a year later, Yang Chun finally followed the method recorded on the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup and successfully completed the spiritual power refining. At this point, the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup truly became Yang Chun's personal item. At this point, Yang Chun was finally relieved. While maintaining the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup with the Universe Treasure-Raising Secret Art, he was thinking about how to test the power of the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup. Not to mention anything else, at least the shielding of spiritual awareness should be tested in front of Luo Yuan. Chapter 514. Luo Yuan was desperately chasing. For the younger generation of the foundation stage in front of him, he now had some admiration. Not any master could persist for a year under his sleepless pursuit, but this younger generation junior had done it, and he couldn't help but admire him. Luo Yuan, who was chasing, suddenly found that Yang Chun on the seabed suddenly disappeared. In great shock, Luo Yuan immediately increased the intensity of the exploration of his spiritual awareness and explored the direction where Yang Chun had just disappeared again. But after 10 breaths, the trace of Yang Chun appeared again in the scope of Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness exploration, which made Luo Yuan breathe a sigh of relief. Maybe there was just something on the seabed that blocked his own spiritual awareness exploration. It was nothing to worry about. Yang Chun noticed the sudden increase in the intensity of Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness exploration and quickly removed the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup so that he once again appeared in the scope of Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness exploration. This small experiment made Yang Chun convinced that after he launched the Sea-Pouring Jasper Cup, Luo Yuan could not find him at all. After this discovery, Yang Chun was completely relieved. Now, it was not a question of whether Yang Chun wanted to escape or not. If he wanted to escape, he could do it at any time. However, now that he had this life-saving weapon, Yang Chun's thoughts were too much. Today's Great Yin and Yang 5-element secret art, Yang Chun still lacked two kinds. One was the 6th Earth True Secret Art, and the other was the 3rd Fire True Secret Art. Although Yang Chun was a fire cultivator in his previous life, he did not get such a powerful cultivation method as the 3rd Fire True Secret Art. Luo Yuan chased after Yang Chun. There was a 90% possibility that it was the 3rd Fire True Essence, and the 3rd Fire True Essence, except for some powerful fire attribute monsters. The simplest and most direct way for cultivators to absorb and refine it was to cultivate the 3rd Fire True Secret Art. In other words, Luo Yuan, who was behind him, was likely to have the 3rd Fire True Secret Art. This was a great blessing for Yang Chun. Moreover, even without this reason, Yang Chun would not let Luo Yuan off. Even if Yang Chun successfully escaped this time, if Luo Yuan could still get news of him from Blue Cloud Sect after he returned, Chunyang Palace would never be peaceful. Yang Chun did not want to bring such a big trouble back to Chunyang Palace, so he could only kill Luo Yuan in this unknown sea area. However, it was not an easy thing to deal with the master of the late Deshang stage. Yang Chun had only one way, that was to use another or more Deshang stage masters to deal with Luo Yuan, killing people with a borrowed knife. In this unknown sea, it was said that there were many Deshang stage monsters that had never appeared before. As long as Yang Chun meets it, the two sides are about to get close to each other, and successfully launches the Sea Jasper to escape the exploration of the two sides' spiritual awareness. It will be easy to let the two sides fight. At that time, Yang Chun could hold his arms and watch the two masters of the Deshang stage fight, sitting on the mountain and watching the tigers fight. At that time, when the Sandpiper and Clam fight, maybe it would be Yang Chun, the fisherman who benefits. After making up this idea, Yang Chun rushed to the depths of the unknown sea area. Anyway, he could leave at any time, so he was not afraid of anything. In the sea, was there anything more reliable than the magic weapon that the East China Sea Old Dragon King solemnly kept? Of course, Luo Yuan did not know Yang Chun's plan, but more and more rushed into the deep sea. Luo Yuan's mind could not help but become nervous, and it was no longer as easy as when he first chased Yang Chun. Up to now, Luo Yuan still couldn't understand why his previous spiritual awareness attack, which had never failed, fell on Yang Chun's body, but it was useless. Yang Chun was just a junior in the foundation stage. How could he have such a fast magic weapon? But this also strengthened Luo Yuan's idea of chasing. As long as he could catch up with Yang Chun, wouldn't these secrets belong to Luo Yuan? Maybe he could get a good flying magic weapon, and there would be a more powerful spiritual awareness cultivation method. There was nothing wrong with this idea in itself, but the premise was that he could catch up with Yang Chun, and he could also force Yang Chun to say these methods. Now, no matter how he thought about it, it was just a fantasy. Both sides had their own thoughts, but no one wanted to give up first. Everyone maintained this posture of one chasing and one fleeing, and continued to fly towards the unknown depths of the vast sea. No one thought that such a chase would take a full 5 years, and they had already gone millions of miles into the sea. During this period, it was not that they did not encounter a Deshang stage monster, but basically all of them were in the early Deshang stage, and they were easily dealt with by Luo Yuan, and even allowed him to harvest a lot of bones of the Deshang stage monster. This harvest alone made Luo Yuan satisfied. The bones of the Deshang stage monster could not be found anywhere and any time. What's more, among these bones, there was a complete monster core of the Deshang stage monster. With these monster cores, Luo Yuan could learn from Elder Wu Xiong in the case of not getting the 3rd Fire True Essence, collect the medicinal materials of the Heaven-Seizing Pill, and then gather several alchemy masters who refined the Heaven-Seizing Pill that year to refine the Heaven-Seizing Pill again. If Luo Yuan knew that the younger generation junior he was chasing was one of the alchemy masters who refined the Heaven-Seizing Pill that year, it was not known what expression Luo Yuan's face would have. That is, Luo Yuan was still desperately chasing Yang Chun, fearing that he would escape. Otherwise, as long as Luo Yuan spent a certain amount of time, he would refine the bones of these Deshang stage monsters into puppets. This kind of sea beast puppet could definitely catch up with the current shuttle in the sea. Yang Chun was also secretly complaining. The few Deshang stage monsters he had encountered before were relatively weak and were not the opponents of Luo Yuan. He didn't know where this guy came from. He was so strong. However, Luo Yuan did not find that Yang Chun could escape the exploration of his spiritual awareness. When facing the Deshang stage monster, he just thought that he couldn't be distracted, so there was no way to determine the position of Yang Chun. But as soon as the battle was over, he could immediately find the whereabouts of Yang Chun, which also made him feel relieved and bold to continue the pursuit. Walking at night for a long time, it was inevitable to encounter ghosts. Above this vast sea, after all, there were still countless powerful monsters that existed. Yang Chun did not feel the existence of the monster, but he noticed a hint of the wind tribulation. Yang Chun had experienced it himself, and the heaven-seizing pill had suffered a pill tribulation, which left a deep impression on Yang Chun. Thousands of miles ahead, there was a powerful monster that would soon face the wind tribulation, and the journey of thousands of miles would only take one day. Luo Yuan's cultivation base was strong, but in terms of knowledge, he did not even have 1% of Yang Chun. Following Yang Chun, he foolishly bumped into the territory of the tribulation beasts. Chapter 515. This was the territory of a huge blue-ringed octopus. In its territory, there was no creature that dared to provoke its majesty. There was only one classification of creatures that could survive here, and that was its food. For many years, the blue-ringed octopus had been accustomed to the environment where there were no enemies. Even if there were a few guys who didn't know what was good for them, they would be torn directly by the blue-ringed octopus's huge tentacles in an instant. This was not counting the poison contained in the thin spikes on the tentacles. Soon to cross the tribulation and ascend, the blue-ringed octopus had been nesting on the bottom of the sea, recuperating. It had already felt the aura of the coming tribulation. The oppressive aura in the sky was full of huge energy, reminding it that maybe the next moment the wind tribulation would come. At this time, suddenly a small insect broke into its territory at a high speed, and the blue-ringed octopus couldn't ignore it. However, the blue-ringed octopus didn't even need to move. It just stretched out far away and sent out a little spiritual awareness somewhere on the huge tentacles. It found that the strength of the small insect was too low, and it was estimated that it couldn't even tickle him. The tribulation was imminent, and this old man was too lazy to pay attention to it. Under the strong pressure of the tribulation, the blue-ringed octopus didn't even open the spiritual awareness of the main body. It had to concentrate on dealing with the wind tribulation that might appear at any time. But this did not mean that it had lost control of the territory. In fact, when the huge body spread out, it had already had a range of hundreds of thousands of feet. The big suckers on each tentacle could send out a separate spiritual awareness to scan the surroundings. The size of the seabed mollusks could not be judged by the common sense on land. However, after a few dozen breaths, it had to start paying attention. A powerful aura with an indomitable momentum rushed into its territory, and looking at the direction, it was heading straight for its body. Yang Chun did not find the body of the blue-ringed octopus. After he found the signs of the wind tribulation, he immediately retracted his spiritual awareness, for fear that any action would stimulate the powerful monster that was about to cross the tribulation. When it came to the realm of crossing the tribulation, the blue-ringed octopus no longer needed the bright blue rings on its body to warn the surrounding creatures. The octopus was very good at hiding its body. Its body was now perfectly discolored into a huge hill at the bottom of the sea. Even if someone stood on its head, it was impossible to find that it was not a real mountain, but a huge blue-ringed octopus. Although he could not find the true body of the monster, Yang Chun could determine its location from the signs of the wind tribulation, so he chose to go straight for the octopus. Luo Yuan, who was behind him, did not know this at all. He followed the footsteps of Yang Chun and rushed directly to the blue-ringed octopus. The appearance of Yang Chan naturally would not make the blue ring octopus vigilant, but Luo Yuan was different. The powerful strength of the late Dashang stage made the blue ring octopus immediately classify him as a guy who wanted to take advantage of the situation. Provocation. This is a blatant provocation. Could it be that this old man is about to cross the tribulation, so he doesn't dare to be distracted, so he wants to take advantage of this opportunity? The monster that was going to cross the tribulation had already had the mind of not losing to any smart people and immediately defined Luo Yuan as a life and death enemy. Luo Yuan was still firmly locked in the position of Yang Chan with his spiritual awareness, and did not care about the spiritual awareness that appeared from time to time on the bottom of the sea that was spread out for thousands of feet. These spiritual awareness were very weak individually. At most, they were at the level of the late Yuanying stage. Luo Yuan did not pay attention to this level of monster and directly rushed over. Based on Luo Yuan's previous experience, once these weak monstrous beasts encountered his spiritual consciousness, they would probably judge his level and immediately leave. Only those who have just entered the Dashang stage and thought that they had to defend their territory would stupidly rush up and then be killed by his flying sword, and there would be a lot of spoils of war. This time was definitely the same, but Luo Yuan did not dream that the foolproof judgment of his spiritual awareness would make two fatal mistakes in a row this time. Yang Chen's figure suddenly disappeared from the scope of the exploration of the spiritual awareness again, and there was no aura. This situation was not the first time that this had happened, and Luo Yuan was not surprised. There were also many mountains and dark trenches on the seabed. After Yang Chun entered here, this situation might appear. Usually, Yang Chun would appear again soon. But what surprised Luo Yuan was that this time, Yang Chun did not appear. After almost 100 breaths of time, there was still no trace of Yang Chun. Maybe the dark trenches on the seabed were longer, but to be on the safe side, Luo Yuan still increased the scope of the exploration of his spiritual awareness. Maybe he could immediately find the figure of Yang Chun. A huge hill appeared on the seabed, which made Luo Yuan somewhat relieved. Maybe Yang Chun was under this mountain and had not rushed out yet. Luo Yuan would not believe that this huge mountain on the seabed was the head of the blue ring octopus entrenched here. In order to find Yang Chun, he deliberately increased the exploration of his spiritual awareness. At such a close distance, it was completely regarded as a provocation by the blue ring octopus. Boom! An earth-shattering divine sense was suddenly released from the huge mountain peak, firmly locking onto Luo Yuan, who was rushing over. 8 huge tentacles on the seabed had been madly raised, directly entangling Luo Yuan in the air. The collision of the two spiritual awareness was like a huge bomb detonated on the sea. In a rumbling sound, the seawater in a radius of hundreds of miles was stirred up, and 8 towering pillars appeared directly from the bottom of the sea, surrounding Luo Yuan in the middle, forming a huge cage from the air, rolling towards Luo Yuan. Luo Yuan was shocked. How could he think that there would be such a huge monster beast here? Just the collision of the spiritual awareness let him know that the strength of this monster beast was not under him. What made Luo Yuan most afraid was that the other party was a seabed creature, which was the home ground and occupied the geographical advantage. In terms of attributes, water restrained fire, he was restrained by the other party. The most important thing was that he had been chasing Yang Chun for more than 5 years without sleep, and there were several battles in the middle. He had never taken a break, but the other party had been cultivating in this place. At this moment, Luo Yuan could no longer care about Yang Chun. Even if there was no third fire true essence, he still had the opportunity to refine the heaven-seizing pill. Thinking of this, Luo Yuan almost did not hesitate to turn around and escape. In the face of such a terrifying seabed monster, he was a fool. However, it was a bit late to run at this time. Perhaps when he was thousands of miles away, he did not break in, and there was a chance to leave. Now there was no choice but to fight. Chapter 516. The towering pillar was the weapon of the blue-ringed octopus with countless suckers. At this moment, it was completely releasing its divine sense. The intensity of the concentration, even with Luo Yuan's strength, could not help but be shocked, and his mind was almost lost. Without thinking about it, the flying sword under Luo Yuan's feet flew out and slashed towards the huge wrist in the direction of his escape. The flying sword flew out for a while and had become extremely huge, but compared with those huge wrist limbs, it was still like a small toothpick. Hey, the flying sword easily pierced the wrist limbs, but the pierced part only flowed out some blue juice, but it immediately grew back. The flying sword just left, less than a breath of time. The wound on the wrist had been completely recovered. In such a shot, several wrist limbs behind him had already entangled. The flying sword was still killing the wrist limbs in the distance. Luo Yuan was shocked and hurriedly made a secret technique. A huge circle of fire appeared around him in an instant, and he was firmly surrounded in it. Above the circle of fire, a large fireball flew out quickly and attacked the surrounding wrist limbs. There was a series of explosions, and on the wrist limbs closest to him, there were dozens of black fireball explosions. This wrist limb was almost instantly retracted into the sea, but the surrounding wrist limbs did not care at all, and still maintained the original trend to entangle Luo Yuan. The flying sword controlled by Luo Yuan has been changed from a stab to a horizontal cut, but the wrist limbs were too big. Even Luo Yuan's flying sword could not cut it off. After cutting off half of it with great difficulty, Luo Yuan was about to make another slash in the same position, but he was shocked to find that the half of the wrist that had just been cut off had been restored to its original state in such a short time, which made him feel very panicked. He couldn't hurt the other party, or if he had a little injury, the other party would recover immediately, but he had been firmly surrounded by the huge wrist limbs. Once he was dragged into the sea, there was only one end left. There was no other possibility except to die here. At this moment, Luo Yuan's heart was already full of regret. A junior in the foundation stage, he actually chased after him for a full 5.5 years. He was a master of the late Deshang stage. It was already shameful to do such a thing as killing people and robbing them. And even a junior in the foundation stage couldn't be dealt with, and he even threw him to his grandmother's house. If he didn't have to catch up with Yang Chun, how could he get to this point now and put himself in danger? If he knew this, why did he have to chase after Yang Chun? But now, even if he regretted it, it was too late. There was no medicine for regret in this world. Luo Yuan could only brace himself and use all his skills, trying to break out of the cage woven by a few limbs. The flying sword on this side was chopping happily. The huge head of the octopus under the sea suddenly issued a powerful and unparalleled spiritual awareness shock, which had the same effect as Luo Yuan's spiritual awareness attack against Yang Chun. The invisible spiritual awareness seemed to turn into a sharp sword and rush straight to Luo Yuan's body. At the same time, a highly toxic black water rushed up from the bottom of the sea and directly wrapped Luo Yuan in it. The ring of fire around Luo Yuan, as soon as it touched this black water, was instantly extinguished, and there was no more sparks. The black water has not yet touched his body. Luo Yuan smelled a strong stench. The toxin contained in the breath has already made Luo Yuan slightly dizzy. If he let the black water touch his body, it would be terrible. Without thinking about it, a body armor instantly appeared outside Luo Yuan's body, emitting a burst of light, blocking the black water outside the light. However, the horror of the black water was far beyond Luo Yuan's expectations. After being stained with the light, it began to sizzle and corrode the light. There was a sharp pain in his mind, and the blue-ringed octopus's spiritual awareness attack also hit Luo Yuan. The spiritual awareness of the two was very strong. Under such a violent collision, Luo Yuan almost could not control the flying sword. Even so, Luo Yuan felt a buzz in his mind, and the pain was unbearable. Luo Yuan was shocked. In this situation, it was only a matter of time before he died. At this time, where could he still care about other things, he directly threw out the body of an early Deshang stage monster from the Chinquin bag, and then the body directly exploded under the control of Luo Yuan. The body exploded with the monster core. The power was so great that even if it was the blue-ringed octopus, it was directly blown off by this terrifying explosion. The gigantic tentacle quickly retracted into the water with its severed arm. But the black water around Luo Yuan did not weaken. It was still hissing and corroding the light of the body armor. At the same time, several other intact wrist limbs were not hindered at all and still entangled Luo Yuan. Luo Yuan, who was trying to escape while the 3 wrist limbs were blown off, suddenly collided with the blue-ringed octopus's spiritual awareness again. His brain was dizzy again, but he could no longer escape the entanglement of the wrist limbs. As a last resort, he took the initiative to fall into the sea. Entering the sea, Luo Yuan knew that it was not good, but it was already useless. The water was definitely the world of the blue-ringed octopus, which was better than the air. In such a short time, the 3 wrist limbs that had just been blown off had been restored to their original state. The 8 wrist limbs were like 8 huge dragons, flexibly entangled around Luo Yuan, and from time to time issued an attack. In the blink of an eye, Luo Yuan was already struggling to cope with it. Suddenly, a clear voice appeared in his ear. "Senior, are you having a good time chasing me?" It was Yang Chun, who didn't know where he was, but he used a wisp of spiritual awareness to pass it over. Luo Yuan, who was already in a bad situation, heard Yang Chen's voice and immediately remembered that all of this was almost caused by Yang Chun. If it wasn't for Yang Chun, how could he, a master of the late Deshang stage, be reduced to such a situation? However, at the moment of this fierce battle, he was so distracted and angry. A wrist limb heavily slammed on Luo Yuan's body. The body armor, almost without any accident, directly turned into pieces. "I will fight with you." In the end, Luo Yuan was still a master of the late Deshang stage. In the case of knowing that he was likely to be defeated, he also broke out with the courage to fight desperately. At this time, the position of Luo Yuan's fall was not far from the huge head of the blue-ringed octopus. At this moment, Luo Yuan no longer cared about holding back and directly released all the bodies of the Deshang stage monsters in the Chinquan bag. Along the way, there were more than a dozen of them. "Explode for me," Luo Yuan shouted, and more than a dozen monster corpses, not far from the head of the blue-ringed octopus, burst open. The huge explosion directly on the head of the blue-ringed octopus, it burst a deep pit. Chapter 517. With this serious injury, the blue-ringed octopus was even more furious, and the wrist and feet madly whipped twice. Luo Yuan, who had lost his body armor, only had time to summon 2 other body protection magic weapons, which were instantly smashed. The 3 body protection magic weapons were all broken, and there was nothing that could be used. Then the next wrist and feet whipped directly on Luo Yuan's body. In the water, Luo Yuan's fire attribute cultivation base was almost restrained, and it was impossible to run faster than the monster beast in the water. Luo Yuan had no choice but to rely on his strong cultivation base to meet these 3 angry attacks. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out, and the surrounding seawater instantly turned into a blood red. The huge strength made Luo Yuan's bones have been broken by more than half, and his whole body floated powerlessly in the seawater. A wrist quietly appeared behind Luo Yuan and directly rolled him up. With a little force, Luo Yuan's body made a kacha-kacha sound, and he fainted directly. If it weren't for Luo Yuan's strong cultivation base, with such injuries, he would have died long ago. But at this moment, life and death are no longer under his control. The angry blue-ringed octopus, the next moment, will twist him into a pool of meat sauce and eat him as a tonic. "Senior, the ascension is imminent. Suffering from this serious injury, this younger generation junior is willing to help the senior." Yang Chen's thoughts collided with the blue-ringed octopus's spiritual awareness through the beast-controlling secret art and passed directly into the blue-ringed octopus's mind. The blue-ringed octopus's anger was also due to this. The tribulation was imminent, but a guy came in to make trouble, and blew up such a big hole in its head, causing its strength to be greatly reduced. In this way, there was no certainty in crossing the tribulation. Yang Chen's thoughts made the blue-ringed octopus suddenly stunned. Then he realized that this was the thought of the shrimp that first broke in. It was just strange that Yang Chen's thoughts were very clear, but the blue-ringed octopus did not know where Yang Chen was. With such ability, and he also had the aura of the monster race, compared to Luo Yuan, it was easier for the blue-ringed octopus to accept. The blue-ringed octopus immediately passed a thought. How can you help me? Junior has a bottle of 10th water true essence in my hands. Maybe it will help Senior's injury a little. Yang Chen's thoughts passed over again, but the blue-ringed octopus still couldn't find Yang Chen's trace. Things like 10th water true essence, even in the sea, were not always available. The blue-ringed octopus certainly knew what the 10th water true essence was. If there was a bottle, not to mention the recovery of the injury, maybe its cultivation base could go further. What do you want? It was simple for smart people to speak. Immediately, the blue-ringed octopus realized that Yang Chen was talking like this, and he must have a request, so he asked straightforwardly. In a world of demonic beasts, this kind of exchange was not a problem at all. It was a matter of course. There is no such thing as should or shouldn't, or taking advantage of the situation. Junior only wants the things on him. Yang Chen did not stand on ceremony and directly stated his request. The things on Luo Yuan, maybe there's the third fire true secret art that he wants. This is a must, otherwise if he misses it, Yang Chen will definitely regret it for a lifetime. Take it. Although the blue-ringed octopus's wrist was huge, it was very flexible. It quickly took off Luo Yuan's Qinquan bag from his body, and then directly placed it in an obvious position. Whiz, a light flashed, and the Qinquan bag disappeared, but in the original position, there was a jade bottle covered with talismans. A wrist directly rolled up the jade bottle, and then sent it to the huge mouth of the blue-ringed octopus. The talisman flew directly, and the jade bottle exuded the aura of 10th water true essence. At the moment, the blue-ringed octopus no longer had any doubts, and the wrist took off the cap of the jade bottle and threw it directly into its mouth. At the same time, Luo Yuan's body on the other wrist was not wasted. The wrist stretched forward and directly sent Luo Yuan's body into its mouth. The body of the late De Shang stage master was definitely a great supplement for the monster. Compared with Shi Kuei and Xiesha's absorption of 5th Earth True Essence, the blue-ringed octopus's absorption of 10th Water True Essence was at least hundreds of times faster. In just a few hours, the octopus's body exuded the aura of 10th Water True Essence. The huge body of hundreds of thousands of feet long quickly shrank, and in a short period of time, it shrank at least 10 times. When a monster itself passed the Yin fire tribulation and entered the De Shang stage, the body would shrink a lot. But the blue-ringed octopus was still hundreds of thousands of feet long, and it could be imagined how huge the body was at that time. The size of the marine creatures could not be measured by the size of the land creatures. Even if it shrank 10 times in size so quickly, the body of the blue-ringed octopus was still tens of thousands of feet long, and it was still a huge behemoth. The deep pit on the head that was blasted by the bodies of more than a dozen De Shang stage monsters and monster cores has disappeared without a trace, and the improvement of the cultivation base could even be seen by Yang Chen. Predecessor, I'm afraid that this is not very good. Yang Chen's thoughts were once again passed to the mind of the blue-ringed octopus. What else do you want? The blue-ringed octopus didn't even ask what Yang Chen meant, and directly asked the question that Yang Chen wanted to ask the most. Make a good karma. Yang Chen's words made the blue-ringed octopus very surprised. Did he help himself just to make a good karma? This seems a bit unjustifiable. After this younger generation junior ascends one day, maybe I will have to ask the predecessor to take care of me. Yang Chen's thoughts came again. Along with this thought, there was also a transformation secret arts mnemonic formula. Deal! The blue-ringed octopus saw the value of the transformation secret art at a glance and agreed directly without thinking about it. Such a huge body size was also a weakness of the blue-ringed octopus. The larger the body size, the more troublesome it was to control, and the larger the range of the wind tribulation, the more difficult it was to resist. The transformation secret art could make the monster transform into a human form. Even a powerful human form was tens of thousands of times smaller than the current blue-ringed octopus. The benefits for the blue-ringed octopus were simply unparalleled. The more powerful the monster, the faster the cultivation of the transformation secret art. It took almost a month for Shi Kuei and Xiesha to master the transformation secret art, but it was almost 2 or 3 days for the old tree demon. But on the blue-ringed octopus side, this speed was refreshed again. In just a few hours, the huge body of the blue-ringed octopus began to change again. The 8 huge tentacles contracted rapidly and quickly became limbs. The huge head of the hill also began to shrink. The tens of thousands of feet long body suddenly became a normal human form. The scene was shocking. When all the changes were completed, a naked and charming beauty appeared in the eyes of Yang Chun. Chapter 518. On the body of the beautiful woman, there were some bright blue rings very regularly distributed, just like the tattoos on the body, which looked pleasing to the eye, but also had a very strong warning meaning. It seems that she has not been accustomed to the human body. From time to time, the beautiful woman stretched out her hands and raised her feet on the bottom of the sea, looking very curious. After waiting for a long time, she seemed to get used to the new body and then realized that she was not right. There was not a single thread on the whole body. It didn't matter when she was a monster, but now it was a bit awkward. After the beautiful woman looked down at herself, she shook her body slightly, and then a set of blue palace clothes appeared on her body, covering the beautiful body that made people's heart beat. Maybe the senior can look at these. It should be of some help to the wind tribulation. Yang Chen's thoughts came again, and the scene of the heaven-seizing pill tribulation soon appeared in the mind of the beautiful woman. It seems that she did not expect that Yang Chen would have such a memory picture. The beautiful woman was like a treasure. She closed her eyes and recalled the picture that Yang Chen sent for a long time, and then opened her eyes. "Thank you." This time the beautiful woman spoke, but it was sincere gratitude. With the picture of the heaven-seizing pill tribulation, it almost taught her half of the experience of crossing the tribulation. 10th Water True Essence plus Transformation Secret Art plus these, she had almost a 90% chance of success. Even before the injury of the battle with Luo Yuan, the beautiful woman did not necessarily have a 30% chance of crossing the tribulation. But now, she has a 90% chance of success, and it was entirely because of the 3 things that Yang Chen gave her. The monster was not ungrateful, and the first reaction of the beautiful woman was to thank him. This junior is Yang Chen. What is the name of the senior? At this point, Yang Chen can finally rest assured and boldly show his figure. The world of the monster was far simpler than that of humans, especially in the mortal world. Lanning, the beautiful woman in the palace dress, said her voice was very crisp and sweet, and it came from the sea, and it was very pleasant to listen to. "I have seen Senior Lanning." Yang Chen bowed to Lanning, and then said, "Congratulations in advance to the senior success in crossing the tribulation and ascending in the day. Thank you for your kind words." Lanning also slightly bowed to Yang Chen and then asked in surprise, "Aren't you a calf?" This younger generation junior had a chance to learn the cultivation method of the monster race. A sentence explained Yang Chen's current situation. In fact, by now, whether Yang Chen was a human or a demon, Lanning didn't care. Regardless of Yang Chen's identity, Lanning was very grateful. "That expert is chasing after you, right?" Of course. Lanning had already discovered that Yang Chen was the insignificant little bug that first rushed into her territory. Thinking of Luo Yuan rushing in, it was easy to guess the answer. This junior is ashamed. Yang Chen didn't deny it. He lowered his head and acknowledged it. Then, he expressed his gratitude. "Thank you for saving me, senior." "Forget it." Lanning waved her hand. At this point, it was meaningless to say anything about cause and effect. The important thing was that if there was no such thing, Maybe Yang Chun would not give her the 10th water true essence and the transformation secret art at all. Compared with what Yang Chun got, she got more. With your cultivation base, you can run to my territory, but it's rare. Lanning looked at Yang Chun with interest and said strangely, "Actually, this junior is already lost." Yang Chen's words made Lanning unable to help but stare. It was really rare for someone to be lost so far away. Of course, Yang Chen was not really lost, but it was easier for Lanning to accept it. "Do you want me to show you the way back?" Lanning tilted her head, showing a breathtaking look, and asked with a smile. Senior is willing to point out, this junior can't wait. Yang Chen also smiled. To be honest, even Yang Chun had never been to this sea area in his previous life. Until now, he knew nothing except that it would take more than 5 years for him to return to the familiar world. "I don't know what the direction you came from." Unexpectedly, Lanning also didn't know the direction Yang Chun came from, but she immediately pointed to another direction and said, "However, from here, it is about less than 2 years' journey in this direction. It is a large land full of demons." "Demon continent?" Yang Chen's face changed slightly. "Well, yes, it is said that it is called this name. Most of them are monsters and demons, and there are very few people from your Dao sex." Lanning was stunned. It seemed that Yang Chun knew the name. "When I was young, I went there for a few days. Apart from fighting and killing, there was nothing else. It was very boring, so I came back." The demon continent. Yang Chen knew that many powerful guys in the spiritual world ascended from here. In his previous life, Yang Chun hid from place to place and did not dare to go to this place. Unexpectedly, this time, he came here by accident. "Thank you, Senior, for your guidance." Knowing the general location, Yang Chen also solemnly thanked Lanning. "With your current cultivation base, I'm afraid it will be a disaster if you go there." Lanning was very surprised that Yang Chen's cultivation base could escape here. You must know that Luo Yuan was a master of the late Deshang stage. It was easy to chase a little guy in the foundation stage. However, thinking of Yang Chen's trick that could make her unable to find his ability, Lanning was relieved. If he couldn't beat him, he could always escape. On the way, there are a lot of powerful guys. Whether you go to the Demon Continent or go back to your original place, I'm afraid there will be a little trouble. Lanning said with a smile, "I still have a little reputation here. You can take this. At least in 1,000,000 miles of the sea, there will be no guy who dares not to give me face." With that, Lanning handed over a blue bead, but it was a crystal condensed by Lan Ying's own monster power. It had Lan Ying's powerful spiritual awareness imprint on it, which was also the most representative of Lan Ying's identity. "Thank you, Senior." Yang Chen respectfully reached out and took it. With this bead, within this 1,000,000 miles of the sea, Yang Chun could almost walk horizontally, and he would no longer have to worry about any monster to threaten him. This was a big gift. Moreover, even without this blue bead itself was an extremely rare monster power crystal. It could be felt in his hand that it was not just a symbol of status. This younger generation junior still has a presumptuous request, and I ask Senior to agree. Yang Chun unceremoniously put away the bead, which made Lanning feel more at ease. When she heard Yang Chun say it, she asked casually, "What request?" When the senior crosses the tribulation, this younger generation junior would like to attend this ceremony. Yang Chun was a very formal request to Lanning. Chapter 519. It was a dream of countless cultivators to observe a Deshang stage master's tribulation and ascend at a close distance. Although Yang Chun had already gone through the tribulation in his previous life, from the perspective of a bystander, he had not really seen it, so he made such a request. Moreover, if Yang Chun could observe it at a close distance, the experience of Lan Ying's tribulation could definitely be a great reference for several masters of Chunyang Palace. Even Yang Chun was tempted. When someone was crossing the tribulation, unless it was a close relative or a fully trusted person, no one would agree. The reason why Yang Chun said that this was a presumptuous request was because of this reason. Once a hostile person attacked during the tribulation, at least the success rate of crossing the tribulation would be reduced to an unpredictable level. Yang Chun certainly understood this truth, so after making this request, Yang Chun immediately went on to say something. Senior, this younger generation junior gave Senior the 10th water true essence, gave Senior the transformation secret art, and even let Senior observe the scene of the heaven-seizing pill tribulation, not for the sake of improving Senior's cultivation base, and then plotting against you. When talking to the monster, sometimes it was more direct. There was no need to beat around the bush, and this was the case for Yang Chun. I didn't say that I don't agree. Lan Ying smiled, and her expression showed great self-confidence. Moreover, it's not that I look down on you. With your cultivation base, even if I am crossing the tribulation, it is not an easy thing for you to plot against me. After Yang Chun accepted the medicinal crystal of Lan Ying, it seemed that Lan Ying's attitude had changed. Perhaps because of the demon power crystal, Lan Ying could find Yang Chun's position anytime and anywhere, no longer in the uncontrollable state where Yang Chun could disappear under the exploration of her spiritual awareness. Yang Chun also knew the deep purpose of Lan Ying giving him the demon power crystal. He did not say it, and directly put it in his own Chinquan bag, so that Lan Ying could find his position at any time. This was a double insurance. Without this, Lan Ying would not fully trust Yang Chun. Thank you, Senior, for your understanding. Yang Chun hurriedly thanked Lan Ying. Lan Ying said this, which meant that she agreed to his own ceremony. However, when I cross my tribulation, I can't protect you. Lan Ying then said, how close you can get, it depends on your strength. When the old tree demon passed the Yin fire tribulation, even the elders of Chunyang Palace could not get too close. This time, the wind tribulation was more than 100 times more powerful than the Yin fire tribulation. With Yang Chun's cultivation of Zhuji period, it was really difficult to observe it at a close distance. However, this was not a big problem for Yang Chun. The higher the cultivation of the person undergoing the tribulation, the smaller the area of influence of the wind tribulation. Secondly, in the deep sea, the power of seawater transmission was limited. Yang Chun had the golden bell to protect his body. Coupled with the thick seawater, he believed that he could endure it. Anyway, as long as the distance was not too close, Yang Chun still had a full opportunity to observe the rare spectacle of the tribulation in this world. Lan Ying was still a little nervous before. She was not sure about the tribulation. She had been recuperating and waiting for the tribulation to come. At this moment, with several things from Yang Chun, she was full of confidence. She was also waiting for the arrival of the tribulation, but this time she was looking forward to it. The changes in the sky quickly reached the bottom of the sea. The violent spiritual power shock made Yang Chun no longer able to stay in the same place. He took the shuttle and quickly retreated until he felt that it was enough. Then he stopped. His spiritual awareness was completely retracted, and his eyes were staring at the movement over there. Although it was in the deep sea, the powerful power of the wind tribulation still made the area where Lan Ying was shining as if it was daytime. Even if Yang Chun was so far away, with his current eyesight, he could still see it clearly. The first wind tribulation began to fall, and Lan Ying seemed to be very easy to take it. Although the time of absorbing the 10th water true essence was not long, it had completely transformed her body. This change alone made her cultivation base stronger by at least half. Looking at Lan Ying so easily taking the first wind tribulation, Yang Chun knew that his judgment was right and moved forward a distance to let himself see it more clearly. As long as his spiritual awareness was not sent out, he would not be affected by the wind tribulation. At this point, Yang Chun was still sure. When the second wind tribulation came, Yang Chun found that he was a little too far forward and still rushed into the scope of the aftermath of the wind tribulation. The silent wind tribulation, compared with the mighty thunder tribulation, was not known how many times more dangerous. Even if Yang Chun had the experience of successfully crossing the tribulation, he was still shocked by the terrifying aftermath. With his current cultivation base, observing this level of heaven's tribulation at a close distance was indeed a bit too much. Fortunately, the powerful power of the Golden Bell helped Yang Chun to easily block the aftermath. Yang Chun did not rashly explore the scope of the heaven's tribulation directly with his spiritual awareness. The wind tribulation did not affect Yang Chun, but the aftermath did not cause much harm. Even so, this kind of wind generated from the inside out still washed Yang Chen's whole body. At that moment, Yang Chen even thought that he was also affected by the wind tribulation. He was shocked in his heart and almost released his spiritual awareness. Fortunately, Yang Chen's will was firm. He resisted the discomfort and endured it. After the aftermath of the wind tribulation passed through the body, he only felt that his whole body was like being carefully massaged, and his whole body was comfortable. He did not bear the power of the wind tribulation, but he enjoyed the subtle and almost non-existent process of the wind tribulation. Of course, he would feel very comfortable after that. At the same time of crossing the tribulation, it was actually a process of condensing the cultivation base and discharging the impurities in the body. After discovering this, Yang Chen stayed in place and stopped moving, waiting for the blue shadow to begin to pass the third, the fourth, until the ninth wind tribulation. The power of the heavens tribulation was getting stronger and stronger, but the blue shadow had been doing it with ease. Only when it came to the last one, the relaxed look of the blue shadow changed a little. This time, it was also the most powerful. The whole body of the blue shadow seemed to be burning. In the raging fire, the body of the blue shadow seemed to become more exquisite. After a dazzling light flashed, the surroundings suddenly returned to calm, as if nothing had happened. In the distance, the blue palace dress on the blue shadow had disappeared without a trace, but her body was unscathed. The nine-wind tribulation only made her lose a set of clothes. She was also a strong person among the strong. You are really lucky. The blue shadow's body flickered, and no one knew where she came out with a set of blue palace dress, and then slowly floated in front of Yang Chen. I believe that I can wait for you in the spiritual world. Chapter 520. Congratulations, Senior. Yang Chen's face was full of smiles, and he looked completely happy and congratulated Lanning. Speaking of which, I should thank you. Lanning was also full of smiles, and she bowed to Yang Chen. This was not Lan Ying's exaggeration. She knew the power of the heavenly tribulation. If it wasn't for Yang Chen's 10th water, true essence, and transformation secret art, this time, it might be a disaster, so Lanning immediately returned the courtesy. Give me my demon power crystal. Floating to Yang Chen's side, Lan Ying reached out and asked Yang Chen for the demon power crystal. Yang Chen did not dare to neglect, and hurriedly took out the blue bead from the Chinquin bag and handed it over. Lan Ying took the bead and sent out her demon power. Suddenly, the bead emitted a strong light. In just a moment, the bead became smaller, but the demon power above it seemed to be purer. With this, I don't think there will be any blind guy who dares to provoke you on the sea, Lan Ying said as she handed back the blue bead. Yang Chen completely believed in this sentence. After the demon power crystal that was condensed by a master who had passed the wind tribulation and was about to ascend, and the monsters in the sea dared to provoke him again, it was purely looking for their own death. Not to mention the sea. Even if he returned to Yang Chen's original territory, not many people would have this courage. If you want to go to the demon continent, it's best not to expose your identity as a Tao sect disciple. Ascension was imminent, and Lan Ying's words were also a bit more persuasive. The demons there don't care what your origin is. If you meet a Tao sect disciple, they will only kill you. There will be nothing else. Thank you, Senior. Yang Chen thanked her again, and seeing that Lan Ying's body was already glowing, he said again, Congratulations, Senior. In the surrounding sky, a violent spiritual power fluctuation came, and Lan Ying's body had become more and more illusory and slowly disappeared in front of Yang Chen. A tall pillar of light rose from the bottom of the sea where the two of them were and shot straight into the sky. With the pillar of light as the center, a huge ripple of spiritual energy spread out in all directions like a wave. Soon, all living beings within 1,000,000 kilometers would be able to sense it. Yang Chen didn't know how to describe his trip to the sea. On the surface, it seemed that Yang Chen was very embarrassed, and it was difficult for him to escape. But now, Yang Chen really tasted the taste of bitterness. Luo Yuan, who chased him, whether he was a master of the Deshang stage or a person from an aristocratic family, has now become the meal of Ing. He was dead. The powerful blue ring octopus Lan Ing, with the help with Yang Chen's help of the Lan, and Yang Lan of the Chun of the Ing. Yang Ing of Tian, as this was, of Ing of Chun of. Was. After ascending to the spiritual world, there were a few acquaintances. The benefits were by no means imaginable by the people of the mortal world. Other things were not to be said, just Lan Ying's monster power crystal, coupled with Yang Chen's beast-controlling secret art, could definitely allow Yang Chen to communicate with the vast majority of the monsters on an equal footing. A guy who could help the monsters to ascend. Even if the monsters hated the people in the Dao sects, they would not hate him, right? Luo Yuan's Chinquan bag was already in the hands of Yang Chen. Before Lan Ing was there, Yang Chen was embarrassed to look for it. Now that Lan Ing had ascended, there would be no monsters around for the time being who dared to disturb them in a short time. He just wanted to see if there was anything that Yang Chen wanted. Yang Chen was most concerned about the third fire true secret art. He didn't think that there would be any clues, but Luo Yuan's pursuit made him have doubts. In that secret plane, apart from the third fire true essence, there was nothing else that could make a guy in the late Deshang stage care so much about it. Of course, the focus of the search was also the jade slip and other things that recorded the cultivation method. What surprised Yang Chen was that there were only a dozen jade slips in Luo Yuan's Chinquan bag. After Yang Chen explored one by one with his spiritual awareness, he could not help but be disappointed. Of these jade slips, a few recorded pill recipes, 2 recorded some refining materials and techniques, and the rest seemed to be Luo Yuan's cultivation method. Among them, there was no third fire true secret art that Yang Chen wanted. Could it be that what Luo Yuan was looking for was not the third fire true essence? How is this possible? The dry flame true fire was not worth it for a master in the late Deshang stage to risk falling out with the Blue Cloud sect to do this kind of thing, right? But there was no third fire true secret art cultivation method in the Chinquan bag in front of him. Perhaps Luo Yuan had already memorized the cultivation method of the third fire true secret art and destroyed the recording material? This was very possible, but Luo Yuan could wait for a small sect that had been destroyed for tens of thousands of years. It must have been passed down from his ancestors. The possibility of this kind of thing being destroyed by Luo Yuan was too low. In any case, Yang Chen wanted to find the third fire true essence, but he could not find it. Under resentment, Yang Chen could only give up. However, as a master of the Deshang stage, there were still a lot of good things in the Chinquan bag. Without the third fire true essence, these things also made Yang Chen's eyes light up. The flying sword that could cut off Lan Yan's wrist in half was impressively among them. It was already the life source flying sword. When Luo Yuan was caught unconscious by Lan Yan, the flying sword automatically flew back to Luo Yuan's Chinquan bag, but now it was cheap to Yang Chen. A powerful third fire flying sword, with good material and exquisite refining, made Yang Chen amazed. This was the highest grade of flying sword that Yang Chen had ever seen in the mortal world. Even the 7x7 of the 49 flying swords in the Dome Hall could not be compared with this one. By Yang Chen standards, this flying sword could be applied to the third fire flying sword in the Great Yin and Yang 5 elements flying sword that Yang Chen needed, as long as Yang Chen refined it on the basis of this flying sword. However, Yang Chen would not do that. Yang Chen's third fire flying sword was the bright ray sword refined by his master. The bright ray sword was of great significance to Yang Chen, and Yang Chen would never easily replace it. Even if this ice and fire flying sword was destroyed and the materials of this flying sword were used to supplement and improve the bright ray sword, Yang Chen would never give up the bright ray sword. Of course, this was Yang Chen's plan after seeing this flying sword. If Luo Yuan was alive and found that his most proud life source flying sword had become a perfect material for a low-level flying sword, it was not known how much blood he would spit out. Yang Chen was looking for Luo Yuan's Chinquan bag here, and the palace master of Chunyang Palace was making a decision that left no way out at all. Chunyang Palace had found out that Luo Yuan was a master of a family with a long history, but this did not dispel the anger of the Chunyang Palace's top management. If he dared to chase Yang Chun of Chunyang Palace, he must be prepared to bear the anger of Chunyang Palace. Luo family, exterminate. The palace master announced this decision decisively. Even if Luo Yuan came back one day, Chunyang Palace would let Luo Yuan know that there was no price to pay for chasing the disciples of Chunyang Palace. Chapter 521. Yang Chen has turned over Luo Yuan's Chinquan bag. In addition to some advanced materials, there were only some spirit stones left. Just from the things inside the Chinquan bag, it could be seen that this guy was the kind of person who wholeheartedly cultivated without any distractions and was also a person with a very firm will. Otherwise, he would not have been able to wait near that small sect for who knows how many years, and also followed Yang Chun for more than 5 years and millions of miles. Originally, Yang Chun still regretted that he couldn't find the third fire true secret art, but after a while, Yang Chun adjusted. No matter how many secret arts there were, it was not as pleasant as being able to live. As long as people are still alive, there will always be a chance to find it. Being able to pick it up and put it down was the correct mentality of cultivation. Otherwise, if you cling to a certain kind of foreign object, you will drill yourself into a dead end. To put it bluntly, this was the case with Luo Yuan. When he determined in his heart that only something could make his cultivation break through, in fact, he artificially put a shackle on himself. There should have been many solutions, but he was limited to one direction by himself, and the final road would only get narrower and narrower. Yang Chun, who had the experience of cultivation in his previous life, would never let himself fall into the limitations of this kind of cultivation. After resting for a while at the place where Lan Ying ascended, Yang Chun began to decide whether he should return the same way or go to the Demon Continent. He had not been to the Demon Continent in his previous life, but Yang Chun still heard some major events from some of the guys who had ascended. Now, there was really no major event in the Demon Continent in the near future, and the closest one would happen in hundreds of years. Yang Chun intended to go to the Demon Continent again to hone his skills, but after weighing it, he gave up this plan for the time being. First, his own cultivation base was not enough to wander in the Demon Continent. Second, he had been chased for so long, his master would definitely be anxious. It was better to go back and let his master feel at ease. Finding the right direction, Yang Chun summoned the shuttle and still rushed in the direction of the fastest speed. On this road, it would take at least 5 years to reach the land, and Yang Chun did not intend to waste it. The 10th water true essence collected before was given to Lan Yin. On the way, he must use the sea-pouring jasper cup to collect some more for his own cultivation. Furthermore, he had been on the run for his life for the past 5 years and hadn't been able to improve his cultivation. It was a good opportunity for him to cultivate regularly on his way back. Presumably, after this pursuit and returning to cultivate, his cultivation would be completely consolidated. After returning, he would be able to concentrate on cultivation and attack the peak of foundation establishment or even core formation. With Lan Ying's monster power crystal, Yang Chun could sit back and relax in the sea. However, since there was a sea-pouring jasper cup, Yang Chun directly put away the demon power crystal. Anyway, other demon beasts couldn't find it with their divine senses, so there was no need to show off the demonic power crystal condensed by the ascended expert. If he really encountered a powerful fellow who harbored evil intentions, he might even try to snatch it away. That would not be good. Along the way, Yang Chun received enough 10th water true essence and no longer paid attention to the things in the ocean. After setting the direction, Yang Chun sat in the shuttle and cultivated regularly. After the cultivation, he read the jade slips he got, which was very enriching. Time flies, and 5 years passed in a flash. In front of Yang Chun's eyes, he had already seen the land appearing in the distant horizon. For a full 10 years, Yang Chun had been in the sea for a full 10 years and finally returned to the original world. Back on land, Yang Chun did not stop and rushed directly to Chunyang Palace. It was estimated that his master was already worried, and he wanted to let her know for the first time that he was still safe and sound. Yang Chun, everyone in Chunyang Palace, when they saw Yang Chun for the first time, they all rubbed their eyes to confirm that they were not dazzled, and then they would cry out in surprise. being chased by a guy in the late Deshang stage. Everyone thought that Yang Chun would never come back. Unexpectedly, after more than 10 years, Yang Chun unexpectedly appeared in front of them again. Yang Chun didn't care to say anything more to the people in the sect who met him and directly rushed to Gao Yu's small courtyard in one breath. He hadn't seen his master for more than 10 years, and he didn't know how his master was now. Far away, Yang Chun felt the aura of his master. After the aftermath of the wind, tribulation swept. Although the scope of Yang Chun's spiritual awareness exploration has not become larger, the sensitivity has increased rapidly. It was only a very subtle aura before, but now it was as bright as a torch in the dark. Master! Yang Chun's voice directly rushed into the ears of Gao Yu, who was in retreat, making her have a very unreal feeling. Since knowing that Yang Chun was chased by Luo Yuan in the late Deshang stage, Gao Yu's heart has been hanging in mid-air and has never been put down. It has been like this until now. Until the day more than 5 years ago, the master of the palace angrily issued an order to destroy the Luo family. Gao Yu had never had a moment where she wanted to kill someone so badly. Her anger soared to the sky, making her the first person to kill into the Luo family. All the people of the Luo family in front of her were enemies that Gao Yu hated to the bone, targets that she had to kill. On the day of the massacre in the Luo family, Gao Yu's performance even made many people who were familiar with her in the sect feel afraid. Gao Yu, who used to be a little bit hot-tempered but was still gentle, suddenly became a killing god. When she came out of the Luo family, Gao Yu's whole body was blood red. After returning, Gao Yu retreated and did not see outsiders. Only she knew that it was a retreat, but she did not have the state of mind to retreat at all. It seemed that she still had a lot of words to say to Yang Chun. There were many things that she wanted to share with Yang Chun, but all this seemed to have become a bubble. Everyone understood that a kid in the foundation stage was chased by a master in the late Deshang stage. What would be the result? If she had known this, she would not have kept a strict guard with Yang Chun. Although Gao Yu and Yang Chun's spiritual awareness double cultivation, she already felt that her heart had been placed on her apprentice, but she has been forcibly suppressing herself and did not show it. If Yang Chun could appear in front of herself again, Gao Yu would definitely tell Yang Chun that no matter what Yang Chun wanted to do, she would not hesitate to agree. Master, I'm back. Yang Chun's voice once again appeared in Gao Yu's ears. This time Gao Yu heard it clearly. It was real, not a dream. Yang Chun. Gao Yu didn't even have time to open the door. She directly broke the door and rushed out, standing in front of Yang Chun. Looking at Yang Chun with a smile on his face in the yard, tears could no longer be held back and burst out. Chapter 5:22. Master, you are thin. Looking at Gao Yu's almost shaky figure, Yang Chun said distressingly. Yang Chun. Gao Yu finally confirmed that standing in front of herself was really Yang Chun. Not a dream, not an illusion, but the real Yang Chun. She didn't know why. Her heart suddenly relaxed. The person seemed to float high into the sky. Her legs could no longer support her own weight, and softly fell down. Master! Yang Chun was shocked, hurriedly stepped forward and supported his soft master. With both hands, he picked up his master's waist, rushed into the room, and carefully put her on the bed. Because of the surprise, Gao Yu had fainted. Yang Chun carefully diagnosed and found that it was just blood attacking the heart. It was not a big problem, and he was relieved. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Yang Chun directly peeled a profound yang fruit and gently sent it into Gao Yu's sandalwood mouth. Then, a large cup of 4C's mysterious coral liquid was carefully poured into Gao Yu's mouth. Master must be anxious. Just let her take this opportunity to sleep and also save Yang Chun from explaining the origin of the 4C's mysterious coral liquid everywhere. Listening to his master's breathing has slowly become normal. Yang Chun took a long breath and was completely relieved. At this time, Yang Chun had time to carefully look at his master's pretty face. Compared with 10 years ago, Gao Yu is much thinner. People who practice will not easily change their appearance. Gao Yu is as thin as ordinary people, obviously the result of mental and physical exhaustion. Looking at his master's face that finally calmed down, Yang Chun suddenly felt a burst of tenderness in his heart, and he couldn't help but put his hand on his master's pretty face. The figure of his master's maid had already appeared outside the door, and Yang Chun turned his head and smiled at the maid. The maid just heard the movement and came over. Suddenly, she saw Yang Chun greeting her. Suddenly, it was like she was in a paralysis spell. She stood in the same place, stunned, and could no longer move. Shaking his head, Yang Chun smiled bitterly. It seemed that many people couldn't believe his sudden return, which also showed how right it was for him to come back in time. If he went to the demon continent and came back, he didn't know how haggard his master would look. The maid reacted after a while and repeatedly apologized to Yang Chun, but the joy on her face also showed that she was happy to see Yang Chun return safely. Yang Chun told her to protect her master, and he got up and went to visit the head of the palace. In these 10 years, it was enough for the head of the palace to be anxious. Almost the same reaction as most people who saw Yang Chun. When he saw Yang Chun appear in front of him, the first reaction of the palace master was to rub his eyes. It couldn't be helped, this thing was too amazing. Being chased by a master of the late Deshang stage. Not to mention Yang Chun, who was a junior in the foundation stage. Even if it was a master in the Yuanying stage, it was not necessarily possible to come back alive. Who would have thought that 10 years later, Yang Chun would actually be standing in front of them, alive and well? How could they not be surprised? Greetings, palace master. Yang Chun was still as polite as ever, so that the head of the palace quickly woke up from that state of horror. After all, he was a master of the Yuanying stage, his mind cultivation base was also high, and his speed of acceptance was also fast. The head of the palace didn't even bother to say anything. He stepped forward, pulled Yang Chun, and began to look up and down. After a long time, he believed that he was not mistaken, but he still couldn't help but ask, "Are you okay?" "This disciple is fine," Yang Chun replied with a smile. "Thank you, palace master, for your concern. It's okay. It's okay." The head of the palace finally reacted, and his face was full of smiles. "Come, invite all the elders to come to the council hall to discuss." Soon, the elders rushed to the council hall, and when they saw Yang Chun's reaction, it was the same. All of them were shocked, and then smiled. The return of Yang Chun made the elders simply don't know how to describe their mood. In particular, Yang Chun's master ancestor Wang Yong was so happy that he almost jumped up. There was no demeanor of a master of the peak Yuanying stage. "Yang Chun, what about Luo Yuan who chased you?" After everyone sat down, the head of the palace immediately asked the question that everyone wanted to know. Although the Chunyang palace destroyed the Luo family, they never relaxed their guard for a day. Luo Yuan was a master of the late Deshang stage. Once he returned and found that his family was destroyed, he would never give up. Chunyang Palace even had the intention of using the resources of the 100,000 mountains to hire a master in the alliance again. "The disciple is back." Yang Chun smiled and replied lightly, "He naturally will never come back." Boom! Although everyone already had this premonition, when they really heard the news from Yang Chun's mouth, they were still shocked, and no one could believe it. It was not that everyone did not trust their own disciples, but the gap between the two was too big, so big that people simply could not believe that there would be any miracles. When Elder Wu Xiong was in the immortal falling abyss, he did not even have to show up, but he could control a fellow in the foundation stage to use his own flying sword to kill the owner of the flying sword. This huge difference in level could not be made up by luck. Luo Yuan was very unlucky. He encountered a disciple in the foundation stage whose spiritual awareness cultivation base was in the middle Yuanying stage. Not to mention controlling Yang Chun's flying sword. It was already a blessing to be able to track Yang Chun's location. Even the spiritual awareness attack had no effect on Yang Chun. His own flying sword could not keep up with the speed of the shuttle. It could be said that he was killed by Yang Chun. Next, it was naturally Yang Chun who told the elders about his escape, especially how he used Lan Yin to kill Luo Yuan. Everyone listened to it and looked at each other. Was this also possible? He couldn't beat him, so he fled to the territory of a master. The two sides naturally had a conflict, and then the person who chased him was killed. What kind of heaven-defying existence could do this? Not to mention that Yang Chun also witnessed Lan Yin's ascension and got the demon power crystal given by Lan Yin after the tribulation. These things all happened to Yangchen. Yangchen's disciple. The elders were shocked and speechless. When Yangchen took out the demon power crystal of Lan Yin, it made a group of people even more moved, especially the old tree demon Gui Shanyu, who belonged to the same monster bloodline. This demon power crystal could directly let him see many things. At this point, when the Chunyang Palace was willing to offend a master of the late Deshang stage for Yangchen alone and tried their best to destroy the Luo family, it was impossible to say that Yangchen was not moved. Please forgive this disciple for not reporting before. After Yangchen saluted the elders again, he slowly said, "Before leaving, this disciple has explored an Immortal's cave left by a sect that was destroyed 10,000 years ago with Master. Compared with Meiqing Mountain, it is more suitable to be the mountain gate of my Chunyang Palace." Chapter 5:23. What? Everyone has not fully recovered from the shock of Yangchen's plan to kill a master of the late Deshang stage. They were shocked by the news of Yangchen and could no longer sit still. You tell me in detail. The head of the palace waved his hand and stopped the noise of the elders and directly ordered Yangchen. Yes, Palace Master. Yangchen did not neglect and began to speak. Now all the senior members of Chunyang Palace seemed to have been twisted into a rope. In the matter of Yangchen being hunted down and retaliating against the Luo family, all the elders voted in favor. With this alone, Yangchen had to be grateful. Now the elders, including Gui Shanyu, no one could stop the master of the late Deshang stage. This was clearly that everyone put the safety of Yangchen above everything else, even at the risk of exterminating the sect to avenge Yangchen. Another point was that Chunyang Palace and several other sect alliances have been in control of the 100,000 mountains for more than 10 years. In the past 10 years, several sects have completely controlled this place, and the income has gradually stabilized, so they can free their hands and be busy with other things. The Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's Cave was originally prepared by Yangchen for the sect. He originally thought that it would take a while to report to the sect. Now that the time was basically ripe, Yangchen would tell everything. Naturally, the excuse was that he had seen the record in an ancient book, so he found the place. As for Gao Yu, Gong Sunling, Shi Kuei, and Xie Sha, it was completely curious at the time. As for the fact that several people have not reported to the sect so far, it was also Yangchen's intention. No one would ask why everyone did not report at the time. Yangchen has already said very clearly that he was afraid that the sect would be too busy. What everyone was interested in was the layout of the cave. When Yangchen explained that there were levels, each level had a corresponding safety line, abundant spiritual energy, numerous rooms, and a large number of demon beasts, as well as the fact that it could be used as a training ground for disciples, the eyes of the elders all shone with a golden light. They couldn't wait to set off right now and carefully explore the cave. After controlling Shirwan Mountains behind the scenes, Chunyang Palace began to enter a stage of rapid development, and its resources and manpower began to be gradually enriched. The higher-ups were also worried that Meiqing Mountain would soon be unable to accommodate more and more disciples. They didn't expect a mountain that was more than 10 times larger than the current Meiqing Mountain to be delivered to them out of thin air. The elders could no longer use the word shock to describe what they were feeling. Other than shock, there was also a layer of shame. So many masters of the nascent soul stage and the Deshang stage could not do it, but a disciple of the foundation stage had already considered it and even completed it. How could this make a group of big shots endure it? Yangchen, you tell the truth. An elder who had not talked to Yangchen before, Gao Shiyin, suddenly asked, "What is your cultivation base now?" Hearing this question from Elder Gao, everyone seemed to be puzzled. All of them looked at Yangchen curiously, waiting for Yangchen's answer. This disciple is now in the 8th level of the foundation stage. Elder, Yangchen honestly said his highest cultivation base, the 4th fire spirit power level. However, Yangchen told the truth, and several elders had an expression of disbelief. It was no wonder that the 8th level of the foundation stage wanted to escape from the pursuit of a master of the late Deshang stage. It was simply impossible. This disciple has had some other adventures, so there's a very fast magic weapon in my hand. The shuttle has appeared many times, and Yang Chun did not have to hide it. He directly summoned the shuttle and asked the elders to take a closer look. In the meeting hall of the Chunyang Palace, Yang Chun did not have to worry about the elders coveting his magic weapon. Elder Gao first took the shuttle, and after a careful exploration with his spiritual awareness, he handed it over to another elder. The shuttle turned a big circle in the hands of the elders, and then returned to the hands of Yang Chun. At this time, no one did not believe in Yang Chun's words. As soon as their spiritual awareness explored the shuttle, everyone knew that if they were allowed to use it, the speed of the shuttle would be unbelievable. Such a fast-flying tool, it was understandable that a master could not catch up with a flying sword. If every Foundation Establishment disciple was as capable as you, then us old bones wouldn't have to do anything but cultivate. The one who spoke was Elder Gao Shiyan, who had asked the question at the beginning. His words were met with unanimous approval from the other elders. The elders are overpraising me. After Yang Chen's modest statement, he threw out another piece of news. This disciple has sorted out some of the jade slips found in the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal's cave and marked them according to their categories. As he said this, Yang Chun took out a large pile of jade slips from the Chinkoan bag. This is the inheritance of the sect from 10,000 years ago. This disciple does not dare to monopolize it. I asked the palace master and the elders to deal with it. Looking at the tens of thousands of jade slips that suddenly appeared on the floor of the meeting hall, the high-level members of the Chunyang Palace fell into shock again. To get the complete inheritance of an ancient sect, this was simply a legendary thing, and it was a good thing to open the protagonist mode and add a super plug-in. This could actually fall on the head of the Chunyang Palace. Most of these are cultivation methods. Yang Chun briefly introduced. However, there are still some small differences between the theory of cultivation 10,000 years ago and now. Only the elders can screen those that can be cultivated directly and those that need to be slightly modified before they can be cultivated. Although Yang Chun could also do such a thing, first, Yang Chun did not want to pull himself up too high. Second, Yang Chun did not want to get caught up in this tedious work. The sect had the Yinwu Hall, which was specialized in this, so it was suitable for them. In addition, there are a large number of jade slips about alchemy, refining, and array. This disciple is still sorting them out. Yang Chun did not take it out at once, but kept apart. After the disciple has sorted it out, it will be handed over to the sect. There are a lot of miscellaneous books. It is estimated that it will take a while. Yang Chun did not restrain himself in front of the elders, nor was he in fear and trepidation. These miscellaneous books, this disciple has to study them slowly. It may take a little longer. It was discovered by Yang Chun, and these things originally belonged to Yang Chun. Even if Yang Chun did not take them out, everyone could not say a word. Now that Yang Chun gave them all out, it was another unexpected surprise for the high-level members. However, when Yang Chun came back, he immediately made a series of surprises, and even several knowledgeable high-level members were a little unaccustomed.